Okay.
Save the breath. Full screen.
Greetings, salutations, and
Oh.
welcome to the 49th episode of Screaming into the Void. And yes, Kat, we are live.
Yes, I know. Now I know. I'm awake. I'm absolutely awake.
So, we got a bit of a skeleton crew tonight. Ryan was unavailable this weekend, and I think Nomi's still on her pleasure cruise in, the Gulf of Mexico or wherever.
Cool.
And I don't know. Larry may show up later. He may not. We will see. A few other people got reached out to. Carrie, I see you in chat. You have the link too if you wanted to come on. It's in your email. And all that stuff. So yeah, I don't know. Might be a kind of a small show today. Nothing too big. Nothing. Next week, I'm hoping to get a bunch of people on because it will be our 50th episode.
Oh, sweet.
So we will try to do something a little bit bigger than, maybe kind of like we did for New Year's. Although maybe not so much with the drinking. But yeah, welcome. With me is my lovely co-host, the Hijabi Gamer. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you? How is everyone? What's up? It's Saturday. I played video games all day. I think we're having pizza at some point tonight.
Fair enough. I eat too much pizza, so I would not be looking forward to that.
There's such a thing as too much pizza?
Yes, there is. Let me put it this way: if you eat pizza 5 days a week, eventually, yes, you will start to lose your taste for it, and believe me, I have.
Okay. Yeah, I've never done that.
Yeah, also super unhealthy for you. But that aside, yeah, it's mostly a cost efficient thing. I can get like a large pizza, and it'll feed me for 2 days for like the cost of like one fucking meal at a restaurant.
Makes sense. Yeah, it is, as long as it doesn't have pork.
Yeah, so no sausage, no pork sausage or anything like that on it. No bacon. You should be all right. So, because it's just bread, tomatoes, cheese, and meat.
Yeah.
Vegetables, that sort of thing. Fruit if you're into pineapple.
I have never tried that. I just want to try it out of sheer curiosity to know what the massive debate is about it.
I don't understand why there's a debate at all. It's not that big a deal. It's okay. It's not great. It's not the best ever, but it's not the worst ever either. So,
I'm just curious. It sounds interesting.
Yeah. So, all right. So we will say hello. Looks like Shadow was here first. Good to see you. Logical Spock. I already mentioned Carrie, but we'll say hello again. I see Yue. Good to see you, buddy. How are things across the pond where, you still have a king? Just saying.
I think they have things worse than just the king.
I know, but that's the part that, us Americans most like to make fun of.
Mm.
We fought a whole war against them about that.
No, I just keep thinking about the whole, yeah, you said something mean online, so we're going to arrest you now. We can't went to your door. Apparently that's a thing.
It'll be a thing here sooner than you think, too.
Yeah, bring it on, bitches. Oh. I'm going to see whatever the hell I want.
Hey, Kohai. Still better than having a president. Oh, I'm sorry. I mean, yeah, the corpse thing is fair. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
That's fair. He's not quite I wouldn't call him a corpse so much as a potato that's been left under the sink too long. It's starting to sprout a little bit, but it's half retarded.
I think a lot of people wish he was a corpse at this point. It would make our lives a lot better if he was a corpse. I'm not saying anybody in particular YouTube, so you can't say anything. I just said I wish he was a corpse. It could be any he.
It probably will happen sooner rather than later. It's not like he's young, and he's definitely not in the best of health, especially if all he fucking eats is ice cream and kids.
God.
So, I saw this video the other day on Twitter, and I don't remember if I bookmarked that or not, but
what?
Some kids were at the White House with their parents, and their parents let them go into the White House with Joe
did?
Biden, but without going with them.
What's wrong with those parents? They
That's
do
kind
know
of what I was
he
thinking.
sniffs people.
Hmm. He does more than that, I think, but no, I don't think I did bookmark that. I think I just
I
got
just keep
disgusted
getting ads
went the other
to
direction.
support him and donate to his election. I keep getting those, and I don't understand why I keep getting those.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just they're starting up with that campaign again. He's actually running a second time, which is hysterical because like, okay, leftist America. Obviously, he's not in the best of cognitive health. Why would you put him back in office? Right? I mean, even if he was the greatest president ever, which he wasn't and isn't, but even if he was, right? If he can't string a sentence together, he's not the best guy for the job. Period. I wouldn't care what party he's in. You know?
Hey, look, I don't mind him running again. You wanna know why? Because if he runs again, he's definitely gonna lose. So you know what? To hell with it. Go right ahead. You wanna do that? Go right ahead, you guys.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just
The only person who's gonna vote for Biden is even more senile and brain dead than Biden.
right. So, but since it's just the two of us, and since your forte is mostly gaming, I figure we could probably talk about some of that. How are you? Have you started Tears of the Kingdom yet?
No, because I'm naughty and I've been playing Warframe, and I want to play Tears of the Kingdom, but I want to replay Breath of the Wild first, again. And I've been playing.
Well, I'm curious if you have seen. Did you see the thing D-Day Cobra put a couple of days ago?
No, what did he put?
All right, let me. I can bring it up on the screen here. It's pretty funny. He said that apparently you can build like enemies in this with stuff that you find.
Okay.
So this is apparently an enemy that this character built, and what D-Day Cobra said was, they will never allow players this kind of freedom again. Apparently, there's one where he's peeing fire too.
Oh, that is awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah. Nintendo will never allow players that kind of freedom again.
You know what? It's Nintendo. You never know. They might.
It's possible, sure, but yeah, it's
That is awesome.
not I don't know. I'm not a Legend of Zelda guy. I have not played a Legend of Zelda game since Legend of Zelda 2: A Link to the Past on the NES.
Which, ironically, I was just wait, SNES. A Link to the Past is on the SNES. A Link to the
Is it?
Past. Yes, the reason I know is
No, because I'm pretty sure Zelda 1 and 2 were both on the NES.
Zelda 1 and 2, but A Link to the Past is not Zelda 1 and 2.
2 is A Link to the Past, is it not?
No.
Oh, well, in that case, I didn't play that one. The last one I played was Zelda 2.
I'm pretty sure Zelda 2 is not A Link to the Past, because I was just playing A Link to the Past right now on SNES.
Gary, I have no idea if that does anything to hurt you. I think it just wanders around pissing. It's a strange thing. I don't know. Maybe it's watering the grass. Who knows? Doesn't seem like the grass needed it. It was pretty tall.
All right, now I definitely have to play this game.
Yeah, there's some. Apparently, the crafting is a little bit out of control. So that's fine. That's whatever.
I do have the amiibo. It's flying around here for the game. I can believe the sales figures.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Carrie, yeah. In that case, I didn't play that one. I've heard of that one, but I never had a Super NES when I was a kid. So, when the Super NES came out, so did the Sega Genesis, and my family went the Genesis route. Which is part of why I side with Sonic the Hedgehog over Mario any fucking day.
Except Sega doesn't make consoles anymore.
No, they don't. Which is why I transitioned to Sony.
Hmm.
The last console that Sega made was the Dreamcast, I think, and which was a hell of a machine, but
Hmm.
it did not sell very well because it was insanely priced. And they ended up losing a ton of fucking money on that because it was a very advanced console for the time and super expensive to put together, and nobody wanted to pay for them. So
Hmm.
only a handful of people ever got them, and all that, which is a shame because it was a very solid system. But
Hmm.
but yeah, that was the last thing that they did, and then they just started making titles for other consoles, other people's consoles, that kind of thing. And eventually, Nintendo got the rights to some of their characters and started putting out
Hmm.
that Sonic and Mario bullshit, which I think is blasphemous, but whatever. No.
Yeah. It's interesting to see it. The fact that you can get Amiibo now, Sonic Amiibo,
Yeah.
is interesting.
Well,
It's re-
go ahead.
I was just say the rule is if it's ever been on a Nintendo console at any point in time, you can have an Amiibo for it, and it can show up in Super Smash Brothers. So like, I think it was Crash Bandicoot. I think it was Crash Bandicoot was on.
That was a Sony character. That was the flagship of the PlayStation 1.
Let me think.
Because they needed a cartoon character like Mario or Sonic to sell their shit to kids, and they didn't have one, so they came up with Crash Bandicoot. So
1 sec.
yeah, my kids got
Yeah, it was on the Game Boy Advanced. I'm looking
Weird.
right now, and yeah, there were Crash games on the GBA, which is why even before that new trilogy came out, you could get Amiibo with Crash Bandicoot because there were Game Boy Advance games. Sort of like why Cloud Strife, even before Final Fantasy VII was on the Switch, you could get the Cloud Strife and Sephiroth Amiibo because Kingdom Hearts was on the 3DS and I think the Game Boy Advance as well.
Right. That's I don't know. That makes me feel weird. I don't know. I played. Did you ever play Kingdom Hearts?
Yeah, I played a little of it. I think I played the first one and I played one of the 3DS games. But honestly, I tried playing Kingdom Hearts 3 and I just couldn't get into it.
Yeah. Fuck. Yeah, I'm aware of that. I actually have it. It's something that I play sometimes on my own when I've got nothing going on, and
I have it on the Switch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It's great on the Switch.
It's got some great titles on there too. So, but yeah, I don't know. I wish that Sega had done better because I really liked their systems. They did some good stuff. And even going back to the Genesis versus the the Super Nintendo, the like Mortal Kombat 2 came out on both systems.
Yeah.
Right. But you had to have like a parental fucking code to turn the blood on the Super Nintendo. There was no code on the Genesis. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
I had a GameCube at one point. So not a GameCube, Game Gear.
Yeah. Yeah, those haven't been around for a long time. But yeah, I had one too. I had one of those. I had a Game Boy Color, I think.
It always surprised me the Game Gear didn't survive because it was the running color first.
Handhelds have a kind of a shaky history, like the Game Boy obviously did really well. Most iterations of that did really well. Obviously the 3DS later did very, very well. But you had things like the PSP, the PS Vita, and all that stuff, and they did not do so good. It's almost like Nintendo, I think, has had the most success with handheld.
Well, I know what saved the Game Boy was Pokemon, but the Vita, one of the biggest problems with the Vita was the micro SD cards. The
Mhm.
the oh god, what is the term where it means it's limited to a per you had to have the Sony extremely expensive micro SD card. So it's like these things are several times the price of a regular micro SD card. It's a
Mhm.
pain in the butt.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you needed one. You couldn't even play games with a cart without a micro SD card. So you had to, in order to use the thing, basically have at least one micro SD card. And they were so overpriced.
Yeah, no, they were. I never got one. I was perfectly content with my PSP. I because I had one, and I mostly played Monster Hunter ports on it, and and all that. But and then I ended up getting a 3DS at one point, because my kid was a lot younger at the time, so we were trying for like more educational games.
Yeah.
When you're a lot more likely to find that sort of thing with Nintendo products than you are with Sony products.
Yeah.
Um, and so they put out this series called Scribble Knots. Have you ever heard of it?
Oh, yes, yes, I've heard of it.
Amazing game, amazing series. All your little characters and the backgrounds and all that stuff look like paper cardboard cutouts or whatever. But they present you with a series of problems that you have to figure out how to get past, and all you have is a magic notepad and a pen. So anything that you write in that notepad, provided it's spelled correctly, it will create.
Ah, okay.
And so it encourages creative problem solving as well as expanding your vocabulary and correct spelling. It's a very cool system. They did a number of them. I think there were 3 in the main series, and then they did some ones that were, IP based. Like there was a DC Universe one where you could write Kryptonian in, and you'd just be invulnerable and able to fly and shoot shit with lasers from your eyes.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
you know, um, and I mean, really creative problem solving. So at one point, I was trying to help my kid get past this thing. So there was a door, right? And there
Mhm.
was a lever. And if you open the lever, a cheetah would come out of the door and eat you, right? So you had to figure out a way to get past the cheetah because you needed to go through that door.
Yeah.
So I made a little black hole and put it in the room with the cheetah. It solved the
Right.
cheetah problem, but then there was still a black hole in that room.
Eh, that's true. That's a good idea. I like it. I actually still have a 3DS XL and the new 2DS. S
Yeah, no, there were some cool stuff on those for handhelds, but the Game Gear had some interesting stuff on it. But man, that was so long ago, I barely remember that system. Because I didn't use that nearly as much. And then, do you remember? So after the Sega Genesis, they had the Sega 3D, which was a sort of an extension to your platform that plugged into the cartridge slot.
I remember reading, like, I don't remember seeing, I just remember, like, these days looking into, um, like, watching people talk about it,
hmm
but I did not.
Yeah, it was interesting, and this is, of course, back when everything was on cartridges, and you could just save your files directly to the cartridges and that
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
the good old days.
Because then they brought out the Sega CD, which was one of the first consoles with the CD-ROM technology. Uh, and then because when Sega CD came out, I think this was just prior to the N64, which was still a console
Yeah,
with that, or was still a cartridge console.
cartridge, yes.
Yeah. So, but yeah, and they just kind of, and of course, we're just talking about 2 companies here. Obviously, others who've come along since then, like Sony and Microsoft, have started up their own things. Although I hear that Microsoft is about to quit making consoles and just start building that tech into gaming PCs.
Where did you hear that?
It was an article that Larry brought up last night, actually.
Interesting, because I hadn't heard that, but, I mean, if micro I'll say my guess is if Sony continues to make, My guess is Microsoft will continue to compete with them. Because the Xbox, while it doesn't sell as well, it sells still pretty well, and Game Pass is a great deal. I don't know. I like my Xbox.
Yeah, I know that people who like Xbox really like it, but I also, like I said, I think that the sales are somewhat lacking in terms of competition, and I think that's what Microsoft is looking at is those numbers, and they've been trying for years to get those numbers apart. They usually on launch they will do a little bit better because Sony always rushes shit and they ship buggy products like with new systems.
Mm.
And this has happened every goddamn. I mean, we're on the PS5 now. This shit happened with the PS2. It happened with the PS3. It happened with the PS4. They are always trying to rush to beat everybody to the market, and they end up shipping incomplete or buggy products. And usually, Microsoft does well initially because the Xboxes are shipped completed uh, for the most part, and so they. People will go and they'll buy those instead because they know that the PlayStation's not ready. Um, but long term, Sony usually recoups those losses.
I think. Well, the thing is with the Xbox to be. First off, it's convenient. When I made the switch from Xbox One to Series X, everything I had for the Xbox One I could use on the new console. Not
Yeah,
so with the PlayStation.
the backwards compatibility is kind of a big selling point. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not just that, it's when you buy a game for the PlayStation, right? If you buy a game for the Xbox Series, so now it's been changing. So lately it has been changing. It used to be you'd get a PS4 game, a PS5 game, and an Xbox game. And it was because PS4 games, Xbox One games would automatically upgrade to Xbox Series X. It's like a PC.
Hmm.
So they would only release 3 versions: PS4, PS5, and Xbox Series X. I buy an Xbox game. I still have an Xbox in the other room. I can put the game in the Xbox, it works. I put in the Xbox Series X, it works. Lately, with the more demanding games like Hogwarts Legacy, it originally came out only on the Series X, but it was a lot easier for me to buy an Xbox game. Whereas if I want to play a game on my PS4 and PS5, I have to buy the PS4 version, and it's not gonna be the PS5 version. There's a difference between the PS4 version and the PS5. If so, it's more convenient. It's easier to live stream with Xbox over PlayStation. The whole thing with the audio is a pain in the rear.
Yeah. Yeah, that's been an issue for me too. I mean, I stream from my PS4 directly to YouTube because I don't have a capture card. I can't go through
Yeah.
my computer or StreamYards or OBS or anything like that. I have to do it directly. Um, which, I mean, it works for me just fine, I guess. I end up using a gaming headset for that instead of this microphone, though, so the sound quality is not quite as great for my voice, but and you can, of course, hear my ancient and angry PS5 or PS4 screaming in the background the whole time.
No, but like if you want to play with someone, so I do it through.
Mhm.
So no, I say you don't used to use a capture card. I use a capture card. So for me, if I want to live stream and play with somebody else, I can't.
Yeah, I managed to do it with Res once, and it's it's
But you,
interesting. I got everything set up the way I thought it needed to be and all that stuff. And we got into the game, and I could hear him clear as day. No one else could hear him. And as it turns out, there are like 2 more sub menus with a couple of check boxes I fucking missed to make that possible.
but you're still streaming from the PS4.
Yes.
For me, if I'm streaming through the capture card, the problem is audio only comes out from one source.
Mhm.
The only way I can live stream PlayStation while in a fire team or a PlayStation party is with a wired headset, and I have to plug in a special wire that goes from the capture card to the controller. So the
Mhm.
audio, because the PS4 or the PS5, both of them are the same. Audio either comes out through the controller or it comes out through the HDMI. The best way I've told people to see it for themselves is plug a headset into your PS5 controller or your PS4 controller. You notice what automatically happens? The sound turns off from the television.
Mhm.
So if I want to hear it, if I don't use a wired controller in that special wired setup, which is a pain in the rear to set up, I have to then go into the Elgato software to modify the settings so that it gets audio through auxiliary. I'll hear the game and they won't, or vice versa. They'll hear the game and I won't. So I actually listen to audio through my PC. I use a headset, but then it's through my PC, so no one playing PlayStation. That's why I can't do a party chat. I'd have to go through Discord.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't had too many issues with the audio, like because I just plug my headset directly into my controller, so all the audio is coming through my headphones. But my headset's also got my mic on it as well. So like everything I'm saying is layered over the audio from.
Yeah,
If you go back and you watch the streams, you can hear everything just fine.
yeah.
My issue with playing with somebody else was that like now I've got it set up correctly, but initially, especially when I tried to do that with Brez, I missed a few checkboxes in the menu before you actually go live, where like I could hear their audio, but nobody else could. Well, it turns out I got to hit this stupid checkbox that says, "Oh, well, hey, do you want your viewers to hear their audio too?"
Ah,
And it's just like, well, yeah, duh. Like, why is that not automatically the default? You know?
that's why I don't understand why people are so big on the PlayStation. I mean, I understand the exclusives, but at the same time, if you want to live stream, PlayStation is a real hassle.
Mhm.
Xbox is so much easier, which is why if I plan on live streaming a game, I will buy it for Xbox, just because it's just that much easier.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just it's just a pain in the ass. But I work with what I have. I don't have Xbox. I don't have any,
Yeah,
aside from my fucking computer that I'm sitting in front of right now, and that's not even it's a Lenovo, but obviously the Windows and shit is a Microsoft product, but I don't like Microsoft tech. I never have. So
no, yeah, no, I'm not a fan of the Surface or any of that, but I just, and the thing is, I wasn't even a big Xbox person. Like I didn't get into Xbox until um like right before the Xbox One came out or after it came out. I picked up a Xbox 360 to play Halo. Before that, we were a PlayStation. I was always PlayStation. I had a PS2, a PS3. I still have my
Mhm.
PS3.
I got a PS2, 3, and 4 sitting about 2 feet away from me right now, and they're all hooked up.
No,
The
my
re
PS3 is I don't have a PS2. Long story.
Well, I keep the PS2 because my PS3 will not play PS2 games, but it will play PS1.
Mm.
You know, so I think the PS4 might play PS1 games too. I don't know,
Yeah, I think so too.
but it won't play it won't play PS3.
Yeah, I know. That's why I
So
still have one.
and when people upgrade to a new system, I don't understand how they'd like. You never go back and play those old games that you paid for that you liked. I
Well,
do, so I like to keep the systems operational.
well, the thing is with Xbox, you can plug in the older games, right?
Hmm.
But with PlayStation, I mean, I know I can use PS4 games in the PS5, but you wanna know the other reason I keep it? It's because, the memory.
Yeah,
You need to put a an SSD. You have to open your PS5. It's almost like they make the PlayStation 5 as
nice watch.
unbearably unpleasant to deal with. Like with the Xbox, I literally bought a little thing that you plug into the back of the Xbox Series X. That's it. It's expensive, but you plug it in and it's good to go. My PS5 is still the base PS5. It has the same amount of memory it came with because I haven't added new memory because I have to open the PS5. If I want to increase the size of the SSD in my PS5, I have to open it. It's the same with the PS4. The PS4, I have an external, and I can use an external. But my understanding with the PS5 is you can't use an external hard drive for PS5 games. It's not fast enough. It's
Yeah.
like that's why it's almost like every step of the way. PlayStation has made things as hard as possible. It's the other thing where I was talking with someone about cloud gaming, right? Xbox, you can buy like the Razer Kishi or various other third-party controllers to play cloud games with. If you want to do remote play with PlayStation, you have to use a PlayStation controller.
Mhm.
It's like, yeah, it's so annoying.
Well, it's a way for them to guarantee that you're going to keep coming back to them for their products.
Yeah, but if I'm going remote play and I have like the Razer Kishi, which it collapses, right? It's designed to go around your phone. It collapses. In fact, I have it right over here. This thing right here, okay? Look how small it is. It collapses, right? And then when I want to use it, you put your phone in between, okay? So it's nice and easy. It's designed to carry around. This is a million times easier to carry than a PS4 controller. So it's like you're making it to be as annoyingly, just plain annoying as possible and inconvenient as possible. I never use remote play on PlayStation because of that.
Yeah. Logical Spock. So on the PlayStation 4, on the controller, instead of a start button, you now have an options button, and then across from that, you have a share button. So when you hit the share button, it brings up a menu of stuff, and one of the things, excuse me, towards the top of the menu, it says broadcast gameplay. So you go into that, and there's a whole sub menu there where you can. It'll ask you if you want to stream directly to Twitch or to YouTube. Those are the only two options PlayStation offers, by the way. So I choose PlayStation, or I choose YouTube, and then I go through a whole thing. I got to set up my description and my title from there, but I can't do any thumbnail shit from there, so I have to do that on my computer. Which, if you go back and watch my game streams, there's usually about 30 to 45 seconds where my character's just standing there, and all you don't hear me at all. That's because I'm trying to update and upload a thumbnail to the thing through YouTube, because it won't let me do that until I go live.
Yeah,
but yeah, basically it's there's a button on the controller that opens up that whole sub menu.
But yeah, you can't, like, for example, multi-stream, which is what I do. So I have a graphics card, a capture card.
Yeah,
that's the difference.
I mean, if I wanted to, I guess I could record the streams and upload it elsewhere. Like they end up on Rumble because my YouTube content is mirrored on Rumble, for example. So like that
Same.
automatically happens. It just happens a little later than the actual stream took place. So those streams are still on Rumble, but they're not, like, they weren't streamed to Rumble. Live kind of thing. But yeah,
same.
The share button it's just a thing there.
Which is why I find the whole thing hilarious, because they give you the share button, which is, so it's like, yeah, we make streaming so much easier. Okay, but then at the same time, you make it so that a lot of people who do stream with a capture card, you make it so much harder. It's like, why can't you have multiple audio output option then?
Hi, Bandwidth. Gary, that seems like needlessly complicated. The way I do it, I just stream it once, and all of that, it ends up on YouTube and Rumble. So, and also my computer is not good. The memory is not, the RAM is not good on it. So like downloading a bunch of fucking streams to it is not going to work out long term.
Yeah, you need a lot of RAM to be able to live stream with a capture card.
Yeah. So, and that's, so I'm just kind of in the position that I'm in with that, because I am relatively low tech for a guy who does a bunch of shit on YouTube. So, the most high tech piece of equipment I have in here that's not a gaming console is probably my microphone, which is pretty good.
I agree. It definitely is sounds it counts. I mean, it's not Caucasian sounds, Sasquatch's quality.
That's not his microphone. That's his voice.
Know. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, abusing the restreaming feature. Up on 6 channels tonight. Are you simultaneously streaming something?
Me?
No, Squatch says he'll be up on 6 channels tonight.
Damn.
That's impressive. So, but oh, and that reminds me, because I haven't put anything out on the community tab. I should probably make the announcement here. Best of my knowledge, the Lioness Exiled will be streaming tonight. So I had a had a conversation with her last night about it. So she will be back this weekend, tonight, if everything goes well. So, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, they synced it. No, fair enough. Gonna have to work something out there as well. So, but yeah, I don't know. I kind of like my system. It's simple. It only takes me,
Yeah, it works.
as long as it takes to type out my fucking descriptions, basically, with a PlayStation controller, which is kind of hard to do. You know?
Oh God, yes.
Because it gives me like a digital keyboard, but I still have to use like the arrow keys of the X button, and yeah. So yeah, I've gotten pretty good at it. It's a little bit like a T9 system.
What's a T9 system?
Oh man, you don't remember T9? Okay, you remember with flip phones with the texting, where you had to like hit each number like multiple times to get the right letter? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a little bit like that.
Yeah. Hey, Buster,
So,
what are you doing, cat?
but yeah, as long as about as long as it takes me to get that done and then set up the rest of the stream description on the YouTube side, which is basically just me uploading the thumbnail and then attaching which game it is to the description. And it's as simple as that. It's really not super complicated on my end. But I mostly do like solo games too, so I can see where that would be a problem for you.
Yeah, especially like Warframe and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I enjoy playing with the people on Warframe. So I just got an alert that Clownfish TV just released a video. Apparently, God, people are so spoiled. Let me just put it that way.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah, I don't know, but yes, Zillage, the T9s. I was actually very good at that because I had a flip phone about 8 years after everybody else I knew switched to smartphones. So, yeah.
I hate cell phones. You can't escape. People contact you, and it's like, no,
Yeah.
I like that ability to just get away. And it used to be, no phone. You just
I mean, I'm single and free, so if I didn't have kids, I wouldn't. I'd just go back to a landline because the only reason I keep it is so that my kids can get hold of me at any time. But as far as everybody else goes, yeah, I screen my fucking calls.
I don't even answer 99% of the time. People basically, like I said, my birthday, my family has to remind me to thank my family for wishing me a happy birthday, and even then I forget. Like, your family's gonna wish you a happy birthday. Go on WhatsApp, and it's like, okay, I won't forget, and then I forget.
Yeah, I answer my phone sometimes if I feel like it's something worth talking about or somebody I want to talk to. I actually have two phones though. I have one that was issued to me by work that is only for work, so that one I have to answer, but only during work hours. But the other one, my personal phone, I mostly use that to listen to other people's live streams while I'm working.
Yeah.
So, speaking of which, you and Shadow did not have a Merry Madness this week.
So I did not. I didn't realize he had said that his schedule would not be up in the would be up in the air, and so by 6:30 when he brought it up. So when I asked him, he's like, "Yeah, his schedule didn't I pay attention?" And so I decided instead to make that video that everyone had told me to make, a video about the whole Egypt thing. So I was like, okay,
Mhm.
that took me a while to make because it takes me a while to make videos. It does.
Did you edit it?
No, I just sat down and recorded it.
I was gonna say
I
it
didn't
didn't
even
seem like it was edited at all. It
No,
seemed like it
because
was.
it's the speaking alone and trying to figure out what to say that takes a lot of work.
Did you write?
And
Did you have notes?
no, because it's harder almost to do with notes.
No, fair enough. No, like I said, it was when we were talking about it behind the scenes. It was very cogent. It was very on point. Um, you know, you had a thing to say and you got it out, and it was very lucid. So
I was, what's interesting is, so most of the people I've encountered on Twitter agree. Then there are the idiots who come up with some of the dumbest stuff. Like one person's like, "Well, nobody had a problem with Elizabeth Taylor. That wasn't labeled a documentary." And then they're like, "Well, what about Gods of Egypt and all those other movies?" And I'm like, "Those weren't labeled as documentaries." And then this one guy, my God, dude needed to get a life, would not shut up. It's like, dude, good for you. You can Google. But you're trying to claim that you sitting on your ass in front of a computer doing Google searches is more knowledge than Zahi Hawass, one of the top art Egyptologists in Egypt, who called the documentary flat out fiction.
mhm.
But yeah, I'm gonna take some black dude sitting in front of a computer going, "Yeah, well, you're wrong about this." It's like, dude, just shut the up.
Yeah. You know, that's like growing up, and not even growing up, but just in the last 20 years, I've heard the word Eurocentric thrown around quite a bit. And I'm thinking to myself, I was like, you know, not even Europeans are arrogant enough to say that they founded, like, say, the Chinese Empire. You know, just saying.
I just find it hilarious that if you eat sushi, which I love the video about the person who was going on about and explaining how braids were not originally from Africa, and so they're like, if you're cultural appropriating blackness or something. It's like, no, sharing and mixing culture makes sense. It's a compliment. I don't, if someone comes to me and says they like Middle Eastern food, I'm not going to call it cultural appropriation. On the other hand, when you literally are saying that your history is my history, you have no right to it, and then you literally call an entire nation of people racist because they don't accept your point of view. I don't like to use cultural appropriation, but they are literally doing cultural appropriation.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Yeah, they
called it
are.
fiction.
That was something that I got into it just a little bit. I did not, dive too deeply into this, but said a thing to somebody who was just like, well, how come people are having such trouble thinking of Egypt as a black country when it's in Africa? And I was like, maybe because Africa's a fucking continent, you moron.
And you'd be surprised at how no, and you'd be surprised Egypt is actually a very much a cult because it's at like the crossroads. So Egypt is very, very mixed. I mean, I've seen some very dark Egyptians, but I mean, look at me. I know a lot of very,
I
very pale
expect people
Egyptians.
to be dark in a country with that much sun,
Yeah,
but
but what about Saudi Arabia?
but
Saudi
dark,
Arabia.
yeah, but dark is not the same as black. It just isn't, you
No,
know.
but on top of that, again, Saudi Arabia. There's more desert in Saudi Arabia, and yet people in Saudi Arabia are very white.
Yeah, people
A
in
lot
Saudi
of them.
Arabia also try to stay out of the sun and cover their heads up pretty good too. So, you know,
But like I said, the people in Egypt are closer to the people of the Levant and people in the Middle East.
Mhm,
And it's this whole idea that Africa is this whole, and the thing that I find even more stupid is I've joked about being African American because obviously Egypt is in Africa. But
mhm.
a lot of people who are black have been like, how dare you call yourself African? All of a sudden now you want Egypt to accept its African roots. You spent a very long time not acknowledging Northern Africa as part of Africa. And now all of a sudden, wait, what?
Yeah. So, real quick, I want to say welcome to Shanderson. Haven't seen you in the chat before, but welcome. Good to see you. Good to meet you.
Hey,
Welcome to the show.
Shanderson.
Normally, we have more panelists. Today's kind of an off week. A lot of people are busy, so it is what it is. But Cat's a mainstay, and it's obviously my channel, so I have to be here. So, but yeah, welcome to the show. Yeah, I don't know the whole whole thing, like Shadow made a good point the other day, and I hate giving it to him because you know how it is, but he made a good point, and about how because it's in Asia, maybe we should get a Russian to play Chandragupta.
True. Very good point. He's right.
You know, because hey, surprise, surprise, most Russians are Asians.
Same with Pakistanis and Indians. We should get one of them to play someone from Japan
Mhm.
because I mean, same continent. Um, but it's just the thing that drives me nuts is like just pause a moment, look at what you're writing. My favorite, I'm not kidding. Someone was like, Egyptians are MAGA white supremacists. What the hell is that?
Yeah, I saw that part of your rant was pretty good too. It's like, wouldn't it, like what you said, wouldn't it be mega? Because
Yeah.
they're not Americans.
Where did you get this from? I mean, these idiots need to pause a moment and look at what they're writing. And for the arrogance of some of these people to think that they are better knowledge than Egyptian Egyptologists, but because, like I said, they're just
Mhm.
stupid Egyptians who don't know their own history. We need Americans to enlighten them.
From what I from what I gather, there are a lot of places that do a better job of informing their students of their own history than the United States.
Yeah.
I don't usually like going along with these kinds of arguments because I don't like this about our country, but the fact is our education is lacking
Our education's
severely
garbage.
in all aspects, but particularly in events of historical and cultural significance. Um, you know,
No,
if you asked your average American where Georgia was, for example, they'd immediately think of the state
yeah.
and not the country in the Balkans.
No, well, the best way to put it is this way. I mentioned in my video that I went to school in Egypt. I did. I went to school for half a year in 3rd grade in Egypt. When I came back from Egypt, my math level, this is half a year, was so above everyone. Before that, I'd been good at math, but I wasn't above
Mhm,
average. I was so above everyone else, they had to put me in a special class. I mean, I got, because of that head start of spending 6 months in Egypt learning math for the rest of my life until I went to college, I was above everyone else in math. Now, my dad also helped me, but the initial boost was the fact that I spent 6 months in Egypt.
mhm.
That our education system is so garbage compared to the rest of the world. And
Well, yeah, and it's because it's about government funding. It's not about teaching kids anything, except for they got to memorize by rote so they can spit back the facts so they can pass a standardized test, which is what guarantees their funding. It's a nasty, vicious circle that does not teach critical thinking and it does not educate.
no, but on top of that, that isn't even being done anymore. Now it's to make sure they get their genders right. Nobody, they're not even, they're getting rid of tests.
Hmm.
So it's like, I mean, the one that they're like, the LSAT is no longer going to be required for law school. What next? The MCAT? Because, you want some idiot who happens to be the right race operating on you, but
Hmm.
didn't pass their MCAT?
Yeah, I don't know if somebody isn't hasn't performed well on their tests on the way to becoming a doctor. I don't care what color they are. I don't want them operating on me or anyone else. you
Yeah.
know, that's yeah.
So
So
what isn't it like 1/3 of students in America are now not literate or are barely literate?
yeah, something like that. They're literate enough to pass again the standardized test, which we have to thank a number of programs, but most notably Bush's No Child Left Behind bullshit, which lowered the standards for everybody. It took competition and a reason to excel out of the educational system.
Yeah.
So
No,
now we got a bunch of guys who got fucking participation trophies running around saying they're gonna change how things are and make it better for everybody and blah 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 and all that stuff and don't know a fucking thing because guess what? You guys weren't fucking educated. You
no,
know?
and the worst part is they're getting dumber. We already have dumb idiots. They are, I mean, again, as long as they know their gender, this is insane.
Mhm. Yeah, home ec. I took home ec.
I did too.
I took home ec when I was in junior high, mostly because I was just trying to skate through, and I figured it would be an easy course. And I mean, as it turns out, it kind of was. But that's
I got my boating license in junior high.
yeah. You could do all kinds of things when we were in school, but even then they were starting that shit. I remember when I was in grade school, they started this thing called CSMP,
Whoa.
which was I don't remember exactly what the acronym stands for, but basically it was a redoing of math. It was base 8, not base 10, and it involved moving dots around on a 4-square grid. And we were the test subject for that. As it turns out, CSMP failed and they scrapped it 2 years later. But I was in the first class that they used that in, and it fucked our whole goddamn generation up as far as mathematics go. Because CSMP, as it turns out, doesn't fucking work. It's not real math. No. Yeah, but it's not a thing anymore because it obviously failed. But the 2 classes that they forced us to learn that shit in have been behind ever since. I still can't do long division to save my fucking life.
Ooh.
You know, so that's one of the reasons. Like with my own kids, I was so adamant about multiplication tables, for example. You know, sitting down every night with my oldest, you know, to do the multiplication tables up to 12 times 12.
Yeah, I remember that too. Memorize them.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well,
you also understand the logic behind it. I mean,
yeah, and if you can multiply 12 by 12 or 12 by anything else, then you can multiply anything.
yeah.
You know, and so and it teaches sequential thinking, and it teaches problem solving. I mean, it's a good skill to have, but they don't teach that shit anymore. I was teaching that to my kid. The school wasn't.
No, but I mean, when I was a kid, you weren't allowed a calculator at all in class. You were never. Now they're allowed to have calculators in school. It's like, are you insane? They can't do math.
See, we were to have scientific calculators, usually Texas Instrument varieties in like junior high, but like and even then, by the time we got to high school, they're like, yeah, you can have those, but if you bring them out in class, we will confiscate them because we want you actually working the problem on paper.
Yeah.
You know.
So I remember being surprised that we were allowed a calculator for the scientific calculator. Because and you had to show your work.
I hated that shit. I mean, I get why they do it, but I hated it so much because if I could do it in my head and just give you the correct answer, how the fuck does it matter how I came to the conclusion? You know?
Because once they know that you understand how to do it once, you know how to do it. That's one of the reasons why I love math. It's once you understand what is being done once, you can do. So that's why my dad would teach me, understand what you're doing, and then every math problem you'll understand.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. Is like they would give me more problems to make sure that I didn't cheat, and I just do it in my head and give them the correct answers every time. And they were just like, okay, well, you still need to show your work because we need you to show your work. I was like, but I keep giving you the right answers, and I'm obviously not cheating because you're staring at me.
Yeah, I get it, but I also get they want to make sure you know what you're doing.
But if I keep doing it correctly, then I clearly know what I'm doing.
But at the same time, they want to see that you learned how to do it correctly. I get where they're coming from, though.
Here's the thing. The few times that I did show them how to do my work, they'd be like, well, you did that wrong. I was like, but I came to the right answer every single time. So how is it wrong? Yeah, this was a problem for me.
No, I get where they're coming from, though. I get that you could be doing it and by chance coming upon it correctly. They want to make sure you understand the basics behind what you're doing. And the teacher doesn't know what you're doing in your head. So I get what you're saying, but at the same time, I can understand more why the teachers would want to make sure you're doing it right.
Well, and that's why I didn't have a problem. Like they would give me a problem I had never seen before, and then I'd do it the same damn way I did everything else.
Yes, I get it, but again, it doesn't matter. At the end of it, I understand where they're coming from.
Yeah. My oldest had the same issue in school. She would do the problem in her head because it just seemed like a waste of time to write it all down when I could do it 3 times faster in my head. Yeah.
Well, that like I said, I get where they're coming from. They want to make sure where you're doing it correctly, because then they can see for sure that you understand the process. Because some people can
Yeah.
just do it and not know what exactly they're doing. Even
Yeah, there are prodigies. I was not a prodigy. I was working the problem. I just did it mentally. But like I had the exact same issue with like my English classes and my writing classes and shit like that. Every time they'd have me write something, I might do 2 drafts. The second draft, if I did it at all, was usually just because I had to type something I had handwritten. But they were always like, "Well, no, you need to do a rough draft, a first draft, a second draft, a
now
third draft, and a
that
final
doesn't make
draft."
sense.
And
That
I
doesn't
said,
make sense. That's dumb. That
if
doesn't prove the
if I
math. I
handwrite it
understand.
out correctly the first time, then why is that a problem? I mean, obviously, if you want it typed and double spaced, I can do that too, but that's it. That's as far as it needs to go. They're
Yeah,
like, well,
no.
no, because we haven't seen the refinement process. I was like, because I do it as I go.
Yeah, no, there's no
You
need.
know?
That doesn't make sense. The math, they need to make sure I can understand the math, because multiple problems is you need to understand a certain logic behind it. But the writing one doesn't make sense. Like for me, it's just your logic and process in writing a paper is not the same thing as the logic and process of writing of doing math, because certain problems, when it comes down to, you need to understand the basics.
Yeah, yeah. But I clearly did. That's my point.
They didn't see it. No, the math I don't agree with. The math I
They
agree with the teachers. I understand. You
they refuse to believe the evidence of their own eyes. That's all
no,
I'm saying.
because again, you could have been by chance getting it correct. You absolutely could have been getting by chance by getting it correct. Even if they came up with random ones, you could be doing something incorrectly and getting the correct answer. They want to
Sure.
see that you are doing it step by step correctly, so that in the future, when you get harder math, you have the basics down. That's one of the reasons that helped me with math when my father taught me. He made sure I understood the basics
Mhm.
before I could move on. That I agree with the teachers on. They need to make sure you understand the basics. Writing, on the other end, that's stupid as hell, because
Yeah.
there's no logical basis like that in
Greetings, Andy.
writing. So the math, I agree with the teachers on. The writing, I know I never had a teacher telling me to give them multiple drafts of the same thing.
I have had several teachers who did that, and I've had other teachers who understood that. So here's the thing, like math, it was something that, like obviously I preferred to work in my head, and usually, yeah, I could come up with the correct answers, and if I couldn't, then I could see where I did wrong and I could do it, correctly. But math is not. Um, it wasn't something that I never had to work at, right? Uh, to be any good at. Whereas writing and language comes as like how everybody's
Yeah,
born with certain talents. That comes as naturally to me as fucking breathing. So does editing. You know, uh, I can look at
yeah,
somebody else's work and I could pick out all of the mistakes and the errors in the first page without actually reading it.
no.
It comes as naturally to me as breathing. So when I write, I correct my shit as I go along.
No, I know where you're coming from with the writing. For me as well, writing is like music. I've edited a lot of I can't just look at it. I have to, of course, read it. I
Mhm.
mean, but I've edited people's stuff. Writing isn't as concrete as math, which is one of the reasons why while I'm decent at writing and people don't mind me editing their stuff. Um, I can that's it's not as it's more subjective. Math
No.
is objective, and
I don't know that language is more subjective. I think that it can certainly appear that way, but I think that there's a universal rhythm to language, in the same way that there is to math. I think that there's an underlying, universal rule to it that you can't really get around. And I think once you see where that is, then it all falls into place, like somebody would say for math. You know. Um, Now,
no,
obviously, I'm not
yes.
I'm not talking about like translations or anything like that. I'm just saying that, like in general, like if you understand the rules of your language, the basics, then you can do just about anything with it.
No, I again, so for example, you have different types of authors for different type of writing styles. Every author has slightly different writing style. With math, you have one math problem, one answer. You will always have one answer. There's no subject. That's what I mean. I could like a certain book that you don't like. You could like something I don't like. You can like, I find a certain writing style that just doesn't fit. There is certain concretes to writing. For example, when to use a semicolon, when to use that sort of thing. But there's still more leniency and looseness to writing than to math. You have to get the correct answer. There's no way of fudging multiplication. Multiplication is one thing and one thing only. 10 times 10 is always 100, regardless.
Yeah, and I could see where like certain things like the Oxford comma, for example, the rules are iffy. They're hotly debated, but I don't know. What are your thoughts on the Oxford comma?
What is the Oxford comma?
Okay, so when you list things, right, you say like me, myself, and I. We'll just use that as an example. So after me, there goes a comma, and then
Mhm.
myself
Mhm.
and I. Now, some people will put a comma after myself, some people will not, because there's an argument that the word and makes that unnecessary.
No, I will put a comma.
Yeah, so that second comma is what's referred to as the Oxford comma.
I didn't know
So
it was referred to as. I know I always put a comma. But then I even know how to use a semicolon, which a lot of people.
Carrie.
I'm with Carrie. You can take my Oxford comma from my cold, dead, desiccated hands.
I've done it both ways. I don't find that one is more correct than the other. It kind of depends on my mood, really. So
Hey, one of the most frustrating things is I mentioned I went to school in Egypt, like I said, and they used the British spelling. And when I went back to America, nobody had the decency to tell me I was using the British spelling. Instead, they would tell me you're spelling it wrong, and I'd be like, but I remember distinctly in school being told this is how to spell it, like color with a U,
yeah, that's British.
which is what they do in Egypt.
Hmm. Yeah. No, they do it in most of the places where Britain has been. They've done it that way. There's very few places outside of the continental United States that spells it the way we do. We just drop the extra U because it's unnecessary.
Yeah, but yeah, no, that it was just they should have told me. They should have told me you're not spelling it wrong. This is why you're spelling it this way. Because there was a couple of words that I had used that were.
Well, I think that goes back to American education too, because we tend to see things as our way is the only way, and if you do it any other way, it's incorrect. So, like with the English spelling, for example, or the British spelling rather, um, an American teacher who has no understanding of anything outside of the American education system is, of course, going to say that's incorrect. Because you got to keep in mind that American teachers came up in the American education
Yeah,
system as well, which is piss poor, as we've stated.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I happen to read a lot of British authors, so I understand the differences, and I even get some of the different uses of words. British English is very different from American English. It's like the difference between like Mexican Spanish and Castilian Spanish. They're not the same, not anymore. They started out the same, but they've diverged enough at certain points. So like, when somebody says, I was almost hit by that lorry, right? A lot of people
yeah,
in America who don't read or watch a lot of British television, like I think Boa has mentioned he watches a ton of the BBC, so he would get these references too. A lorry is a truck,
yeah. I know.
but or a lift is an elevator, or a flat is an apartment, or that kind of thing. It gets really tricky when you get into Cockney rhyming slang, but that's a whole other can of like crazy ass linguistics.
No, well, one of my friends when I was growing up as a child was from Pakistan, and she had a lot of those British, like boarding school novels that they would tell about. That's why I fell in love with. I mean, they're like the Harry Potter books. I could see the genre she was going for, where it's like sneaking out in the middle of the night for parties and stuff like that. So I
Yeah.
grew up with those books. I gotta go feed Her Majesty. She's giving me.
Oh, no worries, no worries. Hey, Caucasian Sasquatch, thank you for hanging out, buddy. Good luck with your show tonight. Hope it turns out really well. I might pop in to the chat if I can later on. we'll kind of see how things go and all that. But I also got to get set up for after this for Mira's show. So, but yeah, have a great night. Zombie, yeah, you and UA both. I have 2 British viewers. Interesting. So, yeah, I imagine the education system there is not great, but there was a time when it was better. Whereas here,
Ours was better. At one
it-
point, I mean, mine wasn't great, but compared to the garbage, I mean, I remember as a kid, you know, you were responsible for your homework. You needed to know when you were having exams. You needed to be responsible. I remember watching my younger brothers go through the school system, and the teachers would email them stuff. And so they were not responsible. Oh no, I'm making noises like Buster. She was going, ow, ow. That's Buster meowing. She squeaks. Whereas like you had to take responsibility for your own schooling. You couldn't, even in elementary school, you had to know when the exams were, you had to study. Now it's like they don't learn responsibility.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's just a whole thing is American education sucks. That's the be all and end all of it. And apparently, I would go so far as to say, in a lot of cases, Western education sucks, but American is probably among the worst of it, at least in terms of like first world industrialized countries. Would be, like obviously there are other places where, not to get too specific or anything. I was just reading about this kid named Rockefeller who died in 1960. They don't know if he drowned or if he was eaten by the people he was going to visit. Those people probably don't have a huge grasp on like higher mathematics because they live in a jungle. But
Yeah.
so the Asmat people, I think is what they were called. What the fuck was I reading about that? It was an interesting thing. It was the son of Norman Rockefeller. No, I'm thinking of Norman Rockwell, the painter. Anyway, doesn't really matter. Guy's gone. He was like 22 years old. His boat sank. I think he might have drowned or been eaten by a shark, but there's another theory that he was eaten by the cannibals he was going to visit. So he had visited them once before and had good rapport with them, but apparently they have a very strong sense of vengeance in their culture, and with that vengeance comes like things like cannibalism, and I guess the Dutch had really pissed him off at one point, and he was pale like them. So,
Oops.
was it grandson? Okay, so yeah, Squatch knows who I'm talking about, or sorry, Carrie knows who I'm talking about. So. Yeah. English is seen as one of the hardest languages to learn because it's infinitely adaptable and because our rules are not set in stone. In a lot of cases, like there's obvious things like I before E except after C, but even that has its exceptions.
Yeah.
And because we borrow languages or words and phrases from so many other languages, not just the Romantic languages, but the Germanic. There's stuff that we borrowed from Hebrew. There's stuff that we've borrowed from, or Asian languages. It's just, yeah, it's a mishmash. It's a mutt, much like this country is.
On top of that, cake is now a pronoun. So, sorry, I couldn't resist.
That's a thing.
Yes, cake is a pronoun.
As in, I want you to call me cake because I want you to eat me.
I don't know. I really don't know. I'm too old for this, you kip. The insanity is just no.
Oh, Zillage, you would love Russian. They've got a whole list of characters in the written language that you don't verbally pronounce.
Oh dear God!
And the rules on some of them are a little weird, as to when you use them and when you don't. One of them is basically a comma, but it looks like this stylized lowercase b. It's a whole thing.
Egypt, on the other hand, every letter you could basically. It's not like Egypt is actually a lot easier than English. Once you understand, the problem is a lot of Americans can't hear or pronounce the sounds. So it's like when people try to say my first name, yeah, not happening.
Yeah.
But it's spelled the way it's said.
Yeah, yeah. There's like in some languages are very much like that. Like Japanese, for example, you pronounce every single syllable.
Yeah.
You just put stress on different ones depending on the word and the context and the connotation and who you're speaking to, and it's it's got very complex, very rigid rules as well. But every syllable is pronounced. You know, I actually, Zillich, I found Russian very easy, and I don't know if that's because I have an English base I'm working from, but I didn't think that it was particularly difficult. The part that I had issues with was that there are no infinitives in Russian.
What are infinitives?
Like am, is, was. Like when you say my name is, in the direct translation from Russian, it would be my name, and then the name. There'd be no is. Is does not
Ah,
exist as a bridge in the sentence. So like when you say like my name is, for example, Samuel, is Меня зовут Samuel, as opposed to in English that would be my name is Samuel. All what that literally translates to is my name Samuel, kind of thing. So yeah, I that took a little getting used to, but otherwise, yeah, it wasn't too difficult. Um, yep,
yeah.
Japanese does tone is a big deal with that. As far as Mandarin goes, UA, I don't honestly know if that or Cantonese is the more complex. Um, honestly, because I don't speak either of them. you know, so it's just I am not sure. I know that they're both very, very complex languages, and I think Cantonese is actually ranked like the hardest language in the world. English is like number 2 or 3. Um, and that's generally because Cantonese is hard for everyone, whereas English is just hard for non-English speakers.
Mm.
You know, from what I understand. I don't know. I think Shadow's supposed to be learning like Cantonese or Mandarin or some shit, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's learning Mandarin.
Mandarin, yeah. So he'll be able to speak with some of the Chinese population because they don't all
Yeah.
speak the same dialect. Those are just the two big ones. There are actually like 17 or 18 different dialects.
Yeah.
Most of them are very cultural and ethnic, but yeah, 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 that's true. I think as we've gotten more advanced as a species, we've definitely gotten dumber.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's sort of like that trait. Like you never read any Orson Scott Card, did you?
I read Ender's Game, but I read it a very long time ago.
Okay, so in that same series, Ender's Game is the first book in that series, and there are two branches in it. One of them follows Ender through his life and career, and the other one follows his subordinates in the first book and what happens on Earth after he leaves at the end of it. And one of those subordinates who was in Ender's Game, Bean, becomes a world leader and general and all that stuff. But what's special about Bean is that he is smarter than Ender is. He is smarter than just about everybody on Earth, but part of the reason for that is because he was a product of genetic modification and engineering.
Mm.
And what they did was they found the gene where super genius comes from and they turned it on, but it also came at the cost of a much shorter lifespan, which is why he's so small. And eventually, towards the end of his life, he becomes afflicted with giantism, which kills him before he's like 21.
Ah.
And that was the payoff: was the smarter we are, the shorter lived we are. Kind of thing. And I think there might be something to that because the longer lived we get, the dumber we seem to get.
No, because some of our you know what? No, because we have some really, 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 really dumb people and age.
I'm not talking about like taking yourself out Darwin style. I just mean like, in general as a species, like our average lifespan has increased rather than decreased.
Mm.
But in general, as a species, we seem to be dumber than we were.
We definitely have been dumber. We definitely, but I think we've gotten spoiled.
Mhm.
And I don't know, it's just people aren't teaching their kids anymore. It's all that whole thing about foundation and just, I mean, kids don't have work ethic. Kids don't try. Kids don't. I mean, we've got an entitled generation of children who think that the world
Mhm.
owes them everything.
Well, and I think you always got a point here too. Everything is at our fingertips. We no longer have to search for answers. We just can call them up on the devices we keep in our pockets. We no longer have to struggle for anything. Um, and I think that there's a certain cunning that comes with struggling that you
Yeah,
don't get with a smartphone.
yeah. No, absolutely. I think that's, and they
Yeah.
expect everything to be there.
Mhm. Yeah, but like, even getting your dinner, right? You just walk down to a restaurant at a grocery store or what have you, and you exchange some currency for your food. You don't have to provide for yourself. It's provided for you at a cost, obviously, but it's much more easy and convenient now. Like there are entire, you know, battalions of liberal city dwelling people who are just like, well, why do you need a gun to hunt for? Can't you just go to the store? I was like, do you know that some of the people you're talking to live like 100 miles from the closest fucking store?
My favorite is when Tim Pool was talking about the person who's like, um, what if there's no milk? And the guy's like, I'll just go to the store. It's like, yeah, that's not gonna work.
Mhm.
You
Hey,
bet.
Bernie. Yeah, it doesn't work, or people who live out in the boonies and they get their land gets rampaged by fucking razorbacks, you know. But maybe not razorbacks. That's a more of an Australian thing, but or an African thing. But like the giant boars in the South, they who consume everything in their fucking path. If you aren't armed, uh, they will kill you.
Yeah.
You know?
Which is why the whole idea of getting rid of guns in Canada, they're like, that's not a good idea.
No, they have bears in Canada, big ones. You
We've
know?
got a lot of
And
problems in Canada.
and the mighty moose.
So they're like, are you insane?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's like that's the thing. A lot of people think that the food just exists at stores, that it just magically fucking appears there. It's like, how do you think that meat got there in the first place? Somebody shot the thing, you know? So
I cannot
somebody shot
believe
it.
it amazes me that people are that dumb. It's
Mhm.
like, this stuff just doesn't magically appear on store shelves.
Yeah.
And yet
So
people are actually that dumb.
well, they do seem to think that it's just provided, so it must be provided for everybody. It's like, who the fuck do you think does the providing? The fucking Morlocks? That was a Time Machine reference, y'all.
Yeah, I know, I know.
Which I think is apropos too, because yeah, we're looking at a system of like the people who dwell in cities like New York, for example. Um, they're definitely the Eloi. They're
Oh
the
god, yes.
beautiful types who want to play and frolic and romp all day and have everything provided for them and don't realize that they are merely being provided for because the Morlocks eat them. You know? So,
You
and the
know what?
Morlocks are the ones who live underground and they make sure everything's running and they make sure the Eloi are provided for, you know.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you think about it, if they're gonna be eating them, do you really think they wanna I mean, you really don't wanna sterilize, your food source.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's an imperfect analogy, but and the analogy was, of course, invented by a man, 160 years ago. So,
Yeah, that's true.
you know, H.G. Wells, by the way, father of modern American science fiction. Uh, Good stuff. Same guy who wrote War of the Worlds and The Invisible Man.
Well, I think what really just I saw a video from, I think it was the Hodge twins, where they showed one person who was arguing the more conservative point of view, and they were articulate. They were explaining why, and then they showed someone who was a leftist lunatic who was literally screaming into the microphone.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "Oh, okay, no, okay."
Yes, Carrie. He wrote The Invisible Man. So, it was quite good too. Quite a good little novel. I read a lot of classical literature when I was a kid, so you know, it was. I mean, mostly stuff that I enjoyed. I didn't go out of my way to read like Dostoevsky or anything like that because, frankly, War and Peace is, while an important novel, a very dry one.
I've not read it.
You know, and it also weighs more than my fucking head. So, you know. But you know, I read a lot of Poe and a lot of Wells and Jules Verne, that sort of thing. Really enjoyed that kind of thing when I was young. I still do. I just don't have as much time for it these days. So, although I will say that the novel 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea has whole sections of it that could be cut out, and it would be a much better book. Just saying. Like your main character is a naturalist, so he went on this journey on the Nautilus under the sea with Captain Nemo, and there are entire sections where he's just standing at a window listing the fish that he sees for pages.
Oh dear God, I did
And
read it. I just don't remember.
It's like, well, he might have read the abridged version where they cut that shit out, but
No, I was very, very young. I mean, young enough that when the dude died and they threw him out to sea, that gave me nightmares. I was too young to read it.
yeah. I don't know. Is that Machiavelli, the prince?
I don't know.
Because I think I did read that too around the time I was really into Sun Tzu, which was quite some time ago, by the way. That is true, Zombie. That even outside of the scientific, I've just noticed to myself that I absorb the information better off of a physical page than a screen.
Same.
It's just a fact. You know,
Absolutely.
I didn't say anything about Machiavelli, man. I just asked if that was him. I don't, like my Italian's not my strong suit, but I'm pretty sure that was the prince that you wrote there. So, hey, Primal One. What's dark as fuck?
The Prince? Machiavelli?
I don't know. He
oh, you mean the thing I was talking about as a kid where I read it, and at one point somebody dies and they send it, they give him a sea burial because they're on a submarine, and I was ridiculously young and it freaked me out. But I was very, very young.
They surfaced first, right?
What? No, they just left the body underwater.
Right, but what? Like, how did they open the door?
I don't know. I think it was through a torpedo tube.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that'll do it.
I was very young when I read that, and it freaked me out because I didn't understand. Though, did you see everyone's been talking about the woman who is complaining about the planes being too narrow?
Yep. Yep. I think that it's the height of arrogance and hubris to demand that an entire industry change their standards because you can't get on a fucking treadmill.
Well, the thing that I found interesting about it is the fact that I'm getting ads for charity organizations, and you have people literally starving to death. Like, where it's like mothers are like, my child, I can't breastfeed my child and my child is starving. And then you have someone who weighs as much as a truck.
Mm-hmm.
It's like something is really messed up here. Something is just ridiculously messed up that we literally have infants starving to death and a woman who's so fat she can't sit. I mean, we're half of what is it, like 50% of of Americans are obese or some ridiculous number like that.
Yeah, it's something stupid high like that. And we're stupidly fat people because we can't stop shoving food into our mouths. And I'm not a fat man by any stretch of the imagination. I'm quite slim actually. I do have a bit of a pudge, but that comes with age and also poor diet, but and lack of exercise. At least of the stomach crunches variety.
I do
But
too.
generally speaking, yeah, no, like we're too fucking fat as a people because we eat too much. I mean, I bitch about like French portions, and that there. Let's be honest, French portions are bullshit. That's like I could put that portion up my fucking nose. It's not a portion, but whatever. Uh, but we do. We have no portion control and no impulse control in this nation. We just continue to eat and eat and eat, and we mostly eat sugar and garbage.
Well, the thing is also we don't. I mean, I drink like 3 or 4 cans of Red Bull a day, but you can't argue that I'm on the large side. It's because I'm moving around so much that I
Right.
need the sugar.
And I think that that's probably why I'm still in better shape than a lot of guys my age, is because my job is actually quite physically demanding. I have to be constantly on my feet, constantly on the move. I go up and down stairs all damn day. And that's part of why I don't like go out of my way to exercise too. I mean, if you have to traverse like fucking 18 staircases every day, and then walk to and from work, and you're gonna be, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna go to the gym.
It's same. No, I mean I walk. I don't have the staircase part, but I bike 5 miles a day, and then I'm on my feet 8 hours straight. Yeah, and I'm usually running from one side of the building to the other. Well, not like walking quickly, that and pushing a cart. That yeah, I usually come home exhausted, and
I agree, zombie. That is a problem. Maybe if they cracked a book once in a while, Shadow, uh, you they would understand more about the world and all that stuff. And that's Shadow. That's just sugar. It's just processed sugar. Sugar is the main culprit. In fact, our friend of the channel, Luke Casley, posted a thing about sugar being like the great evil of our time, even worse than cocaine in terms of like how bad for you it is.
that makes sense.
It is, but I also put a comment on that said, yeah, but to be fair, sugar tastes better than cocaine does. Which is true, by the way. Sugar tastes a lot better than cocaine does.
I'm gonna take your word for it. I've never had cocaine.
Yeah. I don't know that empathy is. I think empathy is an overrated quality, man. I think that people are too focused on, oh, I've got to feel for everybody around me. You know what? You can't take care of others if you don't take care of yourself first. I think that obviously being a good steward and a good neighbor, yeah, you want to have a little bit of that empathy, but I think that as a quality, it's overrated, especially by Gen Z. They think that's all there is that, oh, I have to be a bleeding heart for everybody on the planet. No, you can't do that, because A, you're going to run yourself ragged, and B, of no fucking use to anybody, and B, it's simply not practical.
But the thing is also empathy isn't their idea of empathy is I don't want to make them feel sad. I don't want to hurt their feelings. And it's like
Mhm.
there's a quest in Hogwarts Legacy that I never forgot, where he wanted to prove that one of the students had a quest for you where you go down into the secret underground like herbology area, and you bring up a plant from a leaf from a dangerous plant, and he wants to use it to prove that he's been there. And so he's like, can you give it to me? I'm like, no, you need to learn from this. It's like there's one thing where you feel for people, on the other hand, sometimes you got to make the hard calls where it's like, I hate to break it to you, honey, you're fat. I don't care how bad, I mean, yeah, it's gonna make you feel bad, but you're fat. The
Well,
more empathetic thing is to be honest with the person instead of
yeah, because they're obviously doing harm to themselves, and if you just kind of empower them to do harm to themselves, then you're not being fucking empathetic or charitable at all. You know, it's kind of sick, really, the way things got twisted around. I think Sydney Watson points this out quite a bit, and I don't agree with her on a lot of stuff, but I think she's right about this. Is that not calling people out on their bullshit isn't helping them.
no.
You know, telling everybody what they want to hear versus what they need to hear. Like there is a difference there, and I think that a real empathetic thing to do is to tell them what they need to hear, not what they want to. You know, to give them what they need, not what they want.
And we give them what they want. It's like, of course you're a beautiful woman. No, you're not. No,
You can be anything you want to be.
no,
No,
you
you
can't.
can't. Nobody can. I mean, look, some people are going to get way ahead and they're going to do well, and some of us aren't, and that's just the way of things. Most of us aren't. Most of us are going to be, nothing special for pretty much the rest of our lives, our whole lives,
Yeah.
and that's okay. That doesn't mean you shouldn't strive to be more. You should.
But I'm never
But
going to be an astronaut. Period.
yeah,
It's just not going to happen.
but yeah, you should also have realistic expectations and be prepared for disappointment. You should also let disappointment motivate you, as opposed to tear you down, which is something else that I think the younger people have issues with. The second that something becomes hard, or the second they get denied something, they lose their shit, or they go and they quit, or whatever, and they don't. There's no sense of like perseverance or accomplishment with them.
Well, it reminds me again of something that Tim Pool said. I hate to bring him up again, but at one point he was talking about, the trans women, and he's saying these people go on TikTok and Twitter, and everybody's telling them, "Oh, you look like a gorgeous woman," and then they go out in the real world, and everyone looks at them and goes, "You look like a dude."
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you're getting the people on Twitter and TikTok aren't being honest with you. So then you go out in reality and you're like, but everyone says I'm such a beautiful woman. It's like, yeah, because they're on Twitter and TikTok.
Do you remember American Idol?
I've remembered. I never watched it.
Yeah.
I'm not a
So
fan.
it was when they started out doing this shit, they would go around to every, all the major locations in the country, and people would arrive there and they'd be hopeful and stuff. And like Simon Cowell would tell them mean things and they'd go away and never be seen again. But there are a couple of people who tried out every year for the first couple of years, believing that they were going to be fantastic singers. And actually, there was one guy, I forget what his name was, who was made famous because he was so fucking bad at singing. Had no stage presence whatsoever, was tone deaf as a motherfucker. And he kept trying, but somebody had told him at some point that you're really good at singing. You should try this. I think whoever that person was who told him that did him an enormous disservice.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was famous for a minute on it, but yeah, it was. I look at it this way. If somebody has aspirations like that, but they're really, really fucking bad at it and like have no talent for it, I'm not saying that they couldn't be, like somebody who could become better with practice. I'm saying that it's clearly not one of their skills. Would it not be better that they resent you for telling them the truth than for them to be humiliated on national television later because you lied to them to make them feel good?
But on top of that, it gives them the opportunity to get better. So
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you tell them you're not good, but this is how you can improve, it's different. One of the reasons why I posted, I haven't written stuff in a while. I need to get back into writing. The reason I would post my corpus stories on the Warframe, which nobody ever responded, on the Warframe forum, was because I wanted people to be like, well, this is where you get the corpus wrong, or this is where I would not, this is where you're missing something. Because I wanted people to be like, this is where you're wrong. I wanted criticism on my interpretation of the corpus, or,
Mhm.
Where you're not making sense, which at one point I was talking with someone and he said, because I had them have families, and he was like, no, they're genetically bred purpose bred. It would make sense for the lower rank corpus to have families. So I reevaluated and rechanged my entire point of view because of that. So it's like sometimes you also gives you the opportunity when you see what you're doing wrong, you may not realize you're doing something wrong. To have someone say you're doing this wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see. Chat's got the name for us of the gentleman I was speaking of, William Hung. Yeah, that's right. It's been a long time since I've seen him, but the fact is, dude, yeah, like you know exactly who I'm talking about. You know exactly, and he was mocked nationwide over this shit, and it probably would have served him better to maybe get some fucking practice in first, or to take some lessons or something like that, instead of being told by whoever it was that told him he should do this. Either they were being deliberately cruel, or they were just trying to spare his fucking feelings. Dude's a laughing stock, you know. And I mean, he seemed to have handled it very well, which is good, because you know, there's a lot of people, especially young people today. Jesus, we'd have a rash of suicides on our hands if they got humiliated like that. But you know, I'm not saying that he can't ever become good. I don't know. I'm just saying that if somebody had told him early on, hey, maybe you should fucking work on this, you know, then maybe he would have done better down the line, you know, or just maybe not put himself in that kind of position in the fucking first place.
Sometimes you just also have to accept, like, I've told people I learned the bagpipes, but one of the things I realized is I can't do music. I just
Mm-hmm.
the way my brain works, I can't do notes and keep a beat at the same time. So finally, I'm like, you know what? I sold my bagpipes. I'm like, I'm not even going to try. I'm not going to pretend and lie to myself that, no, this is just something I can't do.
Mm-hmm. Hey Ozzy, good to see you. Yes. But yeah, it's, I don't know. I think that we tend to use psychological terms like they're everyday terms too, which, so like I balk at the term empathy. I think that when I was young, empathy meant something else. It did not mean what it means today,
Yeah.
especially in the circles that I ran in. It was a whole other thing. But I think the term that people are using that in place of is kindness.
Yes.
And I think that kindness is not always pleasant. You know, I think that the greater kindness, again, in this case, would be to have forestalled William Hung from going out and doing his thing. Be like, look, dude, you suck. I'm sorry, but you're tone deaf. This is not a good idea. Don't do it. Because then, yeah, he might get a little pissed at whoever said that to him. You know, maybe resent them, maybe stop talking to him. I don't know. It might cost the relationship, but you save the guy a lot of pain,
Yeah.
you know, down the road. So I think that would have been the kinder thing to do.
I agree. So that sometimes the better thing is to be hard.
I appreciate that, zombie. Thank you. That's a hell of a compliment.
Same. Wow.
So, yeah, no, it's most of the time this is a pretty chill show. We have not gotten into any like outrageous sexual innuendos, or screaming matches, or any of that stuff. I mean, that does happen. It's just we're just pretty chill show with just Kat and I here today.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing.
Yeah. And I'm just randomly thinking of stuff that happened all week and be like, hey, you heard? And
Right.
just randomly. And so, like, I was about to say, so after you heard about the Disney Star Wars Star Cruisers closing too.
Yep. Just didn't, gosh, I'm so shocked by that. Didn't see that coming at all.
No, me neither. I couldn't believe it.
And charge
You know,
$6,000 a fucking night. And what do you expect?
Clownfish TV was saying, because I've never been on a cruise, that a cruise is cheaper. An actual real Disney cruise is cheaper than that ridiculous.
Yep. And you get 3 weeks out of it.
I don't know.
Plus, like, events and stuff that you can do. It's not regimented down to the minute either, which is, I don't know. That whole Galactic Star Cruiser thing seemed like a bad idea. And what's worse is it wasn't even proper Star Wars. It was just generic shit that they slapped a Star Wars label on.
It looks like Star Trek.
Vaguely, it looks like it could be any random
Yeah.
science fiction thing, really. So, Starkers, like your brother was wrong. He was wrong. I
Oh, the irony.
don't know why you're pissed. Why aren't you like cackling? Because
You
you were
should be
right.
like,
You should be rubbing that shit in his face.
yeah.
No.
The thing is, how can anybody have seen that? I mean, how did? And I am amazed that they did not see it. They should be listening at this point to Clownfish TV because every single one of their predictions has come true.
What do you mean?
How can he refuse to accept he's wrong? It's closing.
He can. You know what? He wants to refuse to accept reality. I guess that's not entirely inconsistent with his age.
You know, Kenobi was good. Wow, he thought Kenobi was good too. Your poor brother. Are you sure he's not adopted?
Did you hit him in the head really hard when you were younger? I mean, no offense, but he seems kind of short bussy.
I mean, is he adopted?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I don't know. It's
the head trauma was mutual.
yeah. See, Ozzy, and that would be a better value, I think. You probably
Anything will
also
be
aren't
better.
crammed into a freaking broom closet, which is about the
Yeah,
size of the rooms on the Galactic Star Cruiser, by the way.
yeah.
The deluxe suites. So I don't know. I'm not super surprised by it, but I also see that Disney's trying to cut a lot of costs in a lot of places right now too. So it doesn't surprise me that would be one of the things to go because they were already taking a loss on that as it was. So they might as well shut it down and do something else with it, like say open up a Spirit Halloween location. Did you see that meme?
No, no.
Somebody had posted the gate for that for Galactic Star Cruiser, and it said "Coming soon, Spirit Halloween."
Oh, yes. No, but what I noticed is all they have to do is give up the woke nonsense, and they seem quite insistent not to. And it's just, dear God, just give it up already.
Hey.
You're losing so much money.
Hey, JB. Yeah, it's I don't know. I kind of the Schadenfreude in me kind of wants to watch that whole company like crumble from within.
Oh, same, but it's just like, what is it going to take for them to learn?
It ain't about them learning at this point. I just want to see them fail. I don't care if they learn their lesson or not. It's I don't think that they're going to collapse into obscurity. I think they'll find some way to keep limping on because it is Disney and they are one of the most powerful corporations on planet fucking Earth. So, like them losing a hotel isn't going to hurt them as much as all that, but not long term anyway. But yeah, JV's right about that. They unless they're absolutely forced to do it, and I don't think this is enough to force them to change fuck all.
Eventually, they may not have a choice. Eventually, it may take a while, but eventually, I mean, no business is ever immune from failure. They could get to the point. I mean, look at Bud Light. Bud Light is I mean, they still won't course correct. They still but
Yeah, I don't see it happening anytime soon. They've been see the problem with the kind of rot that Disney has is that it's infected them at the roots. Right? You're gonna have to cut the entire tree out. You can't just like trim a few branches here and there. So, that's I don't know. I say fuck them. I don't watch any of their stuff anymore. I don't buy any of their products anymore. And this isn't like I'm not saying, oh hey, go boycott Disney. I'm just saying I'm not interested in what they're selling. So
Same. I think that's one of the. I don't know.
Like Shadow went to see Guardians 3 last night, and he apparently really liked it a lot. And I mean, good. I'm glad you did. I'm glad you liked it, because I would hate that you would go and spend money on a movie that it turns out you didn't like. That's it's good that you loved it, but I am not gonna watch it. I'm not gonna pirate it either or anything like that. I'm not gonna do seven seas crap or anything like that. I'm just not gonna watch it. I'm just no longer interested in that franchise or those characters or any of that stuff.
Yeah, same.
And and I don't know, maybe it's the greatest movie ever, but I'm going to be missing out. I will rather watch things. Oh, that reminds me. JV said he was going to watch Velocipaster last night.
Who?
Joker's Boy.
Velocipaster. Yes.
I needs to dude, if you got time, I'll throw you a link, because I really need to know what you thought of that. So, because I am very curious, because I love that fucking movie, and it is terrible. All right, give me just a second. Let me double check and make sure that's the right link. It is. Okay. It should be in your DMs, dude. Yes.
What, Doug Walker?
Yeah. So everybody prepare. We're gonna pep up a little bit. I'm about to have an invasion of the clown variety.
Uh-oh. I have not behaved. Which is good. I never behave.
I'm not Doug. What did you? Who the fuck are you comparing to Doug Walker? It better not be me.
I don't know who Doug Walker is.
Channel Awesome. He's the nostalgic.
Oh yes. What happened to him?
They're not good. That's what happened. People stopped watching them. They got super fucking woke, and as it turns out, that Doug may or may not have allegedly been involved in some very shady shit.
No, you know who got really woke? I watched a video came up in my feed recommended for him, and I started watching it. And I could not believe how just some guy. I'm listening to him. I'm like, oh my god, dude, what happened to you?
Nothing happened to just some guy.
Wait, who's?
No, I haven't watched a lot of his stuff in a while. All of a sudden, he's like that devil DeSantis. I'm like, what happened to you?
Yeah, nothing.
Who is Doug Walker?
Doug Walker, the nostalgia critic. Channel Awesome.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, it's a. I don't know if that. I used to watch some of their stuff because they did some funny skits for a while, but they got super fucking woke. And
yeah, you haven't watched.
So is Twinkerbell saying that I've gone woke? You little shit.
Yeah. I don't know. It's
yeah, I used to watch some of his stuff. Not in a long time. Ricada Roach or some guy?
Well, hold on. Twinkerbell also says he attacks Christians when he gets the chance. Coming from someone who loves the Roman Empire.
I mean, he's got a point, Shadow. The Romans used to feed Christians to big hungry cats. So, I mean, as far as attacks go.
Glass houses, my friend. Glass houses.
So, but Behemoth's right. Yeah, Ricada, this was on a Flashcast. He got into an argument with Just Some Guy like months ago, and everything that Just Some Guy had been keeping to himself about himself kind of spilled out.
Ooh.
And he was always a hardcore leftist. He just was good at selling his channel to multiple people on both sides. Which you should be able to do. If you've got a product and you want to sell it to as wide an audience as possible. So he was good at that. I don't have a problem with that. But he said some shit that could have been taken as being in defense of child molesters.
Given this stuff, I only watched about half a video about what was going on, and I was like, I mean, he called the devil DeSantis. He clearly doesn't understand the laws in Florida that came out. I mean, dude, just, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to watch him too, guys. And he's got an extensive knowledge of Lord of the Rings. I mean, the dude speaks fluent Elven, like Sindarin. You know, so yeah, so I don't know, but that's basically what happened. I mean, I think if you go to Corono's channel, he archives all of Flashcast stuff, so you might still find it there. But I think Flash himself took like most of his live streams, he took that down.
Wait, Corona who?
Channel is Kurono, Kurono. He archives most of Flashcast stuff and a lot of Jack Show stuff and that sort of thing.
So, Velocipaster.
Yes.
Dear God in heaven.
Wasn't it glorious?
That's one word to describe it. Don't know if that's the word I would use, but I mean, you start off right away and VFX car on fire. There's nothing there.
That was so hilarious.
And the times when I didn't doze off because that film was so dull. Your star, he gets in some moments where I'm like, that's Tinkerbell. He's got the crazy eyes, the same haircut going on.
Now Shadow's got to watch it.
Yeah. I suppose if I was really drunk, it would be hilarious. But that was a slog to get through, and it's just so dumb.
That's kind of the point. It's obviously a terrible fucking movie, but I enjoy stuff like that. I thought it was great. And for those of you who don't know, it's about a pastor, a priest who is afflicted with velociraptorism.
Yes. Yeah.
Who fights ninjas.
Yeah. And bangs a prostitute.
Yeah.
And stop saying I look like every vanilla white boy. Well, then just slide it, go into the skid, my friend. Embrace the Tinkerbell. You're sitting on a gold mine.
You know what you need, kid? You need a good identifying scar, like something across the nose or your chin or something like that.
Or like right here, the Anakin scar, mate.
I would say that, but that's a little like overdone at this point. You know, maybe like cut an ear off, then go.
Oh dear God, Shadow! Okay. Don't listen to them, Shadow.
Don't do any of this stuff, YouTube. I'm just fucking making jokes.
In Minecraft.
Yeah. So no. Velocipaster is way better than Sharknado. Let me put it this way: it's better than Sharknado 4.
I stopped at 1. I couldn't get past 1. There's 6 of those things. Dear God.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and by the end of them, Tara Reid is a fucking cyborg.
Well, I was going through Tubi the other night. There is a film called "Don't Fuck in the Woods 2," which means there was a 1.
Wait. Just isn't Sharknado the movie about a tornado with sharks falling from the sky?
Yes.
How do you make 6 movies out of that?
Well, that's the trick, isn't it? Nobody knows. They exist.
It's how many cameos can you throw into a film? I mean, at one point they had the Hoff in there.
Oh yeah, they get successively more ridiculous. Like by the end of it, like I said, Tara Reid's character is like a cyborg. What? For no reason at all.
And I have seen Tara Reid at a con. That girl needs to eat a sandwich.
Sure, but she's also a fucking terrible actress, which worked out well when they had her play a robot at the end of the Sharknado series. So
yeah, and when your 2 main leads are Tara Reid and Ian Ziering, you know you're you're not scraping the top of the, you're not scraping the cream off the top of the heap. You're digging the sludge down at the bottom.
Hey, so Primal One, here's the secret. The reason that they profit repeatedly, the reason that shit movies like this do well, and even the ones who don't do well get a cult following later, like Velocipastor. The reason for that is because they're fucking fun.
Right.
You know, yes, they're dumb as shit, but they are fun.
There is a producer. He has made over 1,000 films. He's profited on every single one. His name is Roger Corman.
Mm-hmm. Roger Corman even did a Fantastic Four treatment back in the 70s. I don't think it went anywhere, and it was a terrible goddamn script. But yeah, he wanted to do. They should have had him do, you know, before he passed. They definitely should have given that to him. It would have ended up 1,000 times better than whatever shit Disney's going to pump out.
Oh well, they've already
because it would be fun, and because he actually respected and admired Jack Kirby too.
Yes,
and Stan Lee. So
and he gave James Cameron his first job.
Mm-hmm. Yes, did. A lot of people came up under Corman.
Cameron was the model and ship designer for Battle Beyond the Stars.
Yeah. Yeah,
which is a terrible film. Which is an absolutely terrible sci-fi film.
Everything Corman did was terrible, but they were still they were entertaining, and that's why he was in business. And a lot of very, very big dudes in Hollywood came up under his tutelage. They learned how to entertain from him. They of course learned later on how to make better movies than he did too. But James Cameron, for example, has made some of the greatest fucking movies of our time. He's also made some ones that are terrible, like Titanic or Avatar or Avatar Water World. You know, I don't know. But you know, he did True Lies. He did Terminator. He did Terminator 2. He did The Abyss, which is fucking amazing.
Aliens.
Yeah, that one is good, but I'm not the biggest fan of the movie, but I can recognize its value as a well put together film. You know. And obviously it's got legions of people who love it. So he must have done something right there. Right. But he also did Piranha 2.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Right. But Roger Corman made a profit on every single film. And he made about 1,000 films.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did. But he was able to do that because he kept him
low budget on shoestrings.
Very low budget, and he was able to the dude was insanely creative, you know, and that helped a lot too, because he could find solutions to like practical effects problems, you know, in ways that were like, honestly, you'd have to call him a genius.
I mean, this was the where people say in today's thing where the challenge is, well, just spend more, just spend more. And where Roger was like, this is what I have. This is what I'm going to spend. This is where my creative comes in, is working within this framework and not going over it.
I think that contributes a lot to his films being as entertaining as they are, is because he had to figure out how to make what he had work, as opposed to going to the producers and saying, hey, throw more money at this shit.
Right.
You know,
which is one of the reasons why when they say working within the framework of canon, when people complain about it, it's like, no, that's what forces you to be more creative, because you have to take the canon and work within that limitation. Limitations make you be more creative.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons that I love shitty movies, because, you know, like at a lot of cases, like, yeah, you've got the ones that are just bad, that are just, you know, like anything Ed Wood made is god awful.
Yes.
For example,
anything Andy Doris makes is god awful. Its only redeeming quality is the 3 B's: bombs, bullets, and boobs.
Yeah. Which is probably why he's still getting work. But he's, you know, but it's Corman was a creative, and you can tell that. Like, I would say to a lesser degree, the folks over at Troma were probably very, very creative because they did a lot of stuff on very low budgets as well.
Very
And
low
this is
budgets.
also, by the way, the same film house that James Gunn came from initially.
Correct. Correct.
But some of their stuff was so fucked up.
Who's the main? Who's the well-known trauma guy? Was it John Oliver? Is that his name?
No.
I mean, you would know him. I mean, you would know him if you saw him, like that tall, skinny, bald guy with a real thin mustache. That guy.
Are you talking about Roger Waters?
Yes, that's it. Roger Waters.
Yeah, Roger Waters has done some interesting movies, but they tend to be entertaining even when they get weird. You know, Crybaby, for example, which was one of Johnny Depp's earlier movies. You know, he also had a cameo in I think it was Bride of Chucky or Seed of Chucky. I can't remember which one it was, but yeah, he was a paparazzi guy in the bushes filming like Chucky and what's her face getting it on when they were dolls, and he goes, "God bless the little people." it was pretty funny stuff.
Considering that he had a lot of little people.
Yeah, but
people in his films.
Well, I think that was part of the joke.
Right.
You know, and so actually Roger Waters is an example of somebody who is openly homosexual. Makes movies that have an openly homosexual bent to them, but nobody gives a shit that it's gay because they're well done. Because that's not the focus.
Right.
You know, it's because he believed in making movies that people want to watch, period. You know, and he did his best to do that. So, you know, and there was some weird shit that he put out, but yeah.
I mean, good. So, okay, I'm going to use an example of somebody from DC Comics. John Constantine is a bisexual man, and that's when Alan Moore created him. That was from the start. He had a one season run on NBC, which was never really discussed. But it's
the one with Matt, what's his name?
Ryan, yes.
Yeah,
very good.
That first season, that was good.
Yes, it was. And then they moved him over to the CW and put him in Legends of Tomorrow. And every other episode he was in, they had him talking about his relationship now with men.
Mm-hmm.
And that became his focal point. And that's doing a character wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think it came up at all during that initial first season. It was just him fighting demons like he's supposed to.
Yep.
You know,
and it was really good. I enjoyed it a lot.
It was, you know, that character always I don't know. I think Constantine probably came first because like, with the Alan Moore with the Vertigo stuff. But there's a character named Matthew Swift in a series of novels. I can't remember the name of the author off the top of my head, but he's basically an urban magician, much like Constantine. So he uses things around him to perform his like real magic, but like, you know, he'll pull electricity out of power lines, for example.
Right.
Kind of thing. So everything's very grounded in the world that he lives in, which is gritty modern London, and all that. And he always kind of reminded me of Constantine because he would just work with what he had at hand and kick some ass.
Right.
You know, kind of thing. Good books, but yeah, Trauma. Good, back to Trauma a little bit. So if you guys haven't watched anything by Trauma, first of all, don't let your kids watch them.
No.
At all, because they're insanely violent, like to a ridiculous degree. But some of them are
disgusting.
Fun.
They're
the
disgusting.
Toxic Avenger series, for example, is about a guy who was bullied in a tutu and dumped into a vat of toxic waste, and then comes out a mutant, still wearing a tutu with a mop as his weapon.
Yep.
That he swabs people with. I mean, I'm not making this up. This is all this shit happening. You know, it was classic Nukem High. Tromeo and Juliet has the most fucked up dream sequence I have ever seen. You know?
Well, then what was it? They tried to make a Toxic Avenger cartoon. I'm just like, oh no.
Oh
No,
no, yeah, that went on for I think a season.
Yeah.
You know, because they did Sergeant Kabuki Man, NYPD, Surf Nazis Must Die. What
Yep.
was it? One about cats. I don't remember
Oh,
what it was called.
Shit. I don't remember.
I was I'm gonna I'm gonna see if I can find it on here because yeah, they did some weird stuff. They did one called Rabid Grannies. I've never seen that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of like strange
Basically, folks.
decapitated.
Basically, folks, if you want to go through just bad films, Tubi. It's free, and it is just a treasure chest of just all this type of bad movie stuff.
Somebody told me about a show, Rise of Empires, like Ottoman. It was about the Ottoman Empire. A guy I work with, he's like, it's really, really good. I have to watch it. It looks pretty good. I don't know.
Yeah.
Shadow, have you heard of it? You're big on the history thing.
He's big on specific histories.
Right. Let's be.
Yeah, it makes him look a little crazy at times.
He's big on very specific periods in history.
Roman.
Like not even just the whole, because you know the Roman Empire lasted for 1,000 fucking years. I mean, it was in decline for 800 of those years, but it was still around, right? But yeah, now he's focused on a handful of dudes most of the time. Like I'm not saying you don't know your shit, Shadow. Like when it comes to like specifically what it is that you're focused on, you're dead on. But
Caligula, Nero,
Rome is, despite what Rome would tell you, they were not the world.
No. Genghis Khan conquered way more than Rome ever did.
Genghis Khan conquered your great granny.
Yeah.
Well, that's not a joke, by the way. Something like 80 some odd % of the entire world's population has some measure of his DNA in them because he banged everybody he didn't kill, and he killed some of them too.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you know what you should do? Check out, see if they've got Where's Skeeto Nazi Hunter on Tubi. I think you would enjoy that one.
Where's Skeeto Nazis? Oh God.
No, Where's Skeeto Nazi Hunter?
Oh God.
Yeah.
A werewolf. Oh.
Here, I'll put the.
Wait, a werewolf mosquito? A mosquito? You mean?
Yes.
As
a part of a failed Nazi experiment.
Oh boy, I just
It is unbelievably great, and when you watch it, you have to watch it with the closed captions on.
Okay.
No, trust me on this. It is fucking worth it.
I mean, I usually do anyway. Oh no.
It is so worth it because at a certain point they take a severe departure from what's actually being said, and it is intentional, and it's awesome.
Oh boy. I'll look to see if it's on Tubi. I'll see.
I put the title in the private chat for you.
I saw it.
It's fantastic. It's one of my favorites, and it was made I think in 2018, 2019, somewhere in there. But it's a throwback to like horror movies from the 1950s.
Yeah,
it's filmed in black and white.
Okay.
It's very cool the way they did it. And yeah, it's goofy and it's silly, but I like it a lot, and I think you will too.
Okay, let me see what I got here.
Oh God, I gotta get out.
Hey, anybody who's got an appreciation for terrible cinema, like, I'm just saying, go out and check this movie out. Do not, however, watch Mansquito, but that was made on the Sci-Fi Channel. That one's terrible, and I don't mean like good terrible. I mean it's just bad.
Yeah, I just looked. It's not on Tubi.
Oh, that's a shame. I think I saw it on Amazon, but now it hasn't been free on Amazon in like 3 years. So.
Oh, so well, that's a guarantee. I'm not going to see it because I'm not going to pay to see that. I'm just saying.
I didn't either. It was a wild time.
Oh God.
Good stuff. Anyway. I don't know. What do you got, Kat?
Well, I thought I was going to go to other Disney related stuff. So,
okay. Such as
canceling the project. I mean, they are having a rough time.
Oh, you mean the Galactic Star Cruiser?
It's not just the Galactic Star Cruiser. They also canceled that construction project. the Nona Beach, Nona Park, Nona Lake, something or other.
Well,
They are having a rough time, and I'm enjoying every moment of it.
well, they're gonna. This is going to be just. They're going to be the last ones to the party, of course, correction if they ever show up. But eventually they will. This all goes in cycles. But in Disney's case, what Sam said is right. I mean, you could fire. I mean, you could gut Lucasfilm tomorrow. That's not going to change anything. You could gut Marvel next month. That's not going to change anything. This all comes from the top, and it's Iger and the board. This is where it all starts.
Yeah.
Well, here's something just that I thought was really interesting, because somebody was making a video about how there's a rumor or like, and yes, I know it's video games, but it's Disney. And I thought it was interesting that they're back to making video games or like giving out their license, because there was a rumor that they're going to make a Super Smash Brothers fighting game clone. And then there's Dreamlight Valley, which is, it's like, so they have their Animal Crossing like simulator game. Then they have now, if you're on YouTube, dear God, the number of ads I've got for this Disney racing game. So someone was like, they're now making their fighting game where it's like fighting Disney characters. Like, interesting that all of a sudden you're getting all these Disney games.
Well, I mean, the video game thing, that's going to be universal, and there as long as Nintendo keeps Illusion in line, this is going to be the next cash cow, because the Mario, massive success. The next one out is Zelda, after the success of this game that came.
Oh, that thing sounds crazy.
Well, they'd be insane not to capitalize on this, because I mean, the fact is Jeremy Griggs is right. Video games are the future. Movies are not going to be around forever.
Mm-hmm.
No, but what's interesting is, so the Mario thing is the opposite.
Primal's right as well. The revenue that they get from live sports is ridiculous. I mean, ESPN practically owns college sports, which drives which gets a lot more revenue than pro sports does.
Yeah, and Shadow, I don't think that's necessarily accurate either, because 100 million Americans just stopped consuming product. They're a worldwide company.
Okay, so let me just say this. So, Shadow, for Disney World doesn't care if doesn't care if 100 million Americans stop going to Disney World. They don't care, because it's the people from France, China, Japan, Korea who come to that park and spend 10 times more per capita than an American does. They spend a shit ton more. Those are the folks that Disney wants, really.
Mm.
Yeah, that is probably true. I don't know, everything.
Well, it's just, I found it interesting because you're saying, so in the case of Mario, it started as a video game and they made a movie. This is the opposite. Disney's back into, like, Disney hasn't released a Disney video game in a very long, since the Disney Infinity series. Now all of a sudden, Dreamlight Valley's on PC and Switch and who knows what else. I don't know. I'm not interested in Animal Crossing clones. And that racing game that's coming to the Switch, which is interesting. It's a Disney game coming to the Switch.
Why is that interesting?
Nintendo. So it's a Disney game on a Nintendo console.
Okay. Well, does Disney have a console of the?
No, but it's interesting. They didn't go with PlayStation or Xbox. They went with the one that's competing with them in the movie market.
Well, they're also going with the one that's probably the most used.
Yeah, they'll probably make more money on a Nintendo platform, especially with the Disney brand on them, because
Correct.
it's going to
That's
sell.
true.
It's going to sell to kids, whereas like little kids are not being bought Xboxes and PlayStations; they're being bought Switches.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, because the fact is Nintendo's content has always been more family friendly than any other company.
Yeah. No.
You know, uh, and you know the fact that they're Japanese doesn't hurt because they don't really care much for the woke shit.
Right.
You
No.
know,
Case in point, Splash the Mountain at Tokyo Disneyland.
Yeah, I heard they're not closing that one. They said no, we like it. We're not getting
Well,
rid of it.
they are not going to they're not going to do a they're not going to re-theme it.
Good. Stupid.
no, good
Stupid
deal.
idea.
I
What's
don't know.
in the
I don't like Disney. I haven't liked Disney in a long time, and it's not just the woke crap. Some of it might be my age, if I'm being perfectly honest. You know, like I've gotten to a point where I don't need their shit anymore. You know, I'm not a
Uh,
Donald Duck fanatic like I was when I was 10.
all right,
Yeah.
Shadow, you show me where that will where
I was,
you show me where that has an impact in the market, and I'll give that more more weight.
yeah, Shadow, and the other thing is like every time I hear about woke infiltrating Japanese culture or specifically corporations, right?
Right.
It gets cut out within a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually by the
Just look at
shareholders. They
manga.
just
Just
Mhm.
look at manga. Manga
Oh,
still is the dominant thing.
what was it? There was a CEO of one of the bigger mega companies, or I think this was like 2 years ago, who came in. He was the new CEO, and he's like, "We're going to change things and make this more like Western culture." And at the time, of course, woke was at its height in Western culture and all that stuff. And he was there for I think a month before they sent him packing with his severance pay that he had to give up half of to kind of as a fine for being stupid.
I mean, and case in point, where Illusion wanted to make the Mario Brothers film about Peach. They wanted to make her the hero, and they wanted to cuck the Mario. And Nintendo stepped in and said, "No, these are our characters. You will do no such thing."
Or I believe Final Fantasy 16 is supposed to be taking place in like medieval Europe, and they said, "Well, why aren't there any black people?" And it's like because it takes place in a world that's based on medieval Europe, and they were like, "We're not changing it."
I think
Well,
I remember hearing them say something about why aren't there any black people in Ghost of Tsushima, because all of the characters are either Japanese or Mongols,
right.
because it takes place
That's
during
why.
the Mongol invasion of Japan.
Right.
So Ghost of Tsushima isn't made by a Japanese company.
I know, but there were a bunch of people over here who were just like, "Oh, there should be more
Yeah.
diversity." I was just like,
Well,
"Why? It's a period piece."
Well, that's also what they said when the what was it when the Northman was released. Like this cast is not very diverse. I'm like, it's 10th century Norway. I mean,
Yeah,
there's
the only diversity you're going to get there are going to be slaves, frankly.
right. That's it. And there, I mean, because there was no diversity in Norway then. There's no diversity in Norway now.
Yeah, Norway's still pretty fucking pale. You know,
I'm just saying.
I mean, I'm not saying that there are no darker people up there. There are.
Right.
There actually is a decent sized Arab population.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't think they're all Muslims, but they're Arabs certainly.
Yeah, there are a lot of.
But even then, like I'm just gonna say it, folks out there in the YouTubeverse, Arabs are Caucasian.
Right.
Yes.
So it's not as diverse as you think.
In fact, actually, when they made it so that on the census in the United States, Arabs are Caucasian, the Arabs actually protested because they knew that if they were listed as Caucasian, we wouldn't get all the benefits that everyone else got that weren't Caucasian. So they were protesting.
What gets me is if they treat Southeast Asians like they're Caucasian in this country. Like, You know, sometimes worse. Like if you look at like college admission stats, you know, they're white adjacent.
Hmm.
So, but no, yeah, Northman was pretty brutal, but it takes
It was
place in a
good.
brutal time,
Yes.
and it's about a brutal people.
Right.
You know, yeah, so yeah, I think Northman was fuck man, what a movie.
It was very good.
That
Another
was
movie I haven't watched yet. I need to watch.
It's done by the same guy who did The Witch and The Lighthouse.
yeah, I actually am interested in The Lighthouse. I never really cared to see The Witch, but
Well, The Witch also stars Anya Taylor Joy.
yeah,
So
and I like her. I think she's a fantastic actress. She's very,
she's
very good.
fantastic and strangely smoking hot.
Yeah, it's a little weird with the hammerhead eyes, but
Right.
you
Right.
know, but it's still kind of mesmerizing.
Yes.
And she's a fantastic actress.
Right.
But yeah, The Northman. I mean, basically, Kat, you already know the story if you have seen The Lion King or Hamlet. It's the
Right.
same. It's the
Yeah.
same
Mm.
fucking story. But
Yeah. It's Hamlet.
you know, I mean, the main character's name is Amleth.
Amleth. Right.
They move. Yeah, it's
Okay.
you know, it's that same story, but it comes with a healthy dose of like Viking mysticism
Hmm.
and brutality.
Bjork.
And
Was
when
it
I
with-
say yeah,
Bjork was great.
and when I say brutality, there are some ugly fucking things that happen in this movie.
Oh,
So
yeah.
just be aware of that.
Okay.
There's some. It's not a romanticized piece
No,
at all.
not at all. Not at all. They don't shy away from just the ugly side of that society at all.
Yeah.
There are some very beautiful things in it too. You know, like it's kind of a warts and all sort of scenario, and it's very well put together and just a beautiful movie. Like I got done watching it, and I had to sit with it for about a half hour before I was able
Oh,
to
yeah.
fucking say anything.
I watched. In the first time I saw it. What was it? I watched it on a Friday, and by the time I was going back to work on Sunday night, I'd watched it like 4 times. It was. I just couldn't stop. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's that good.
You ever see Gerard Butler and Beowulf and Grendel? I don't think so. The last time I watched
I
the
don't think so
Beowulf
either.
thing, it was the one with
Yeah, that animated thing.
yeah, the Angelina Jolie's in it, and who the fuck played Beowulf? I should know his name. It's something
I don't
Ray
remember.
Winstone. Ray
Yeah.
Winstone. And it was okay. You
It was
know,
okay. Yeah.
it wasn't terrible. The animation was a little off-putting,
Mm.
but as far as the acting and the story goes, I thought it was fine. But I haven't seen the Gerard Butler one.
And then speaking of Anya Taylor Joy, another great film she's in, The Menu.
I haven't seen that either.
Yeah.
You should check it out. Check it out. It's good. I mean, she goes toe to toe with Ray Fiennes the entire film, and she's amazing.
Is this one of those things where the menu turns out to be people?
Not exactly, no.
Because
But it
that
is
was the
good, though.
impression I got, and I was like, you know,
It's
kind of.
it's
I watched The
it's-
Green Inferno, and I'm like, yeah, I'm done with cannibals for a while.
no. That part is not out there, but it's a good film. It's a good film.
So they're not eating people.
No,
Okay.
Yeah, I might
and
check
there's
it out at some point.
also Nick Holt is in it too. So
He's
he's
usually
great.
pretty good. Yeah. I did see. So Shyamalan, right? M. Night
M. Night
Shyamalan is
Shyamalan.
a very contested director, I think, because some of his earlier stuff is some of the best stuff from that era.
Hmm.
But some of his later stuff is some of the
Avatar.
worst fucking movies you will ever see. Not even Avatar.
Avatar.
Avatar was like mid-career, dude. It's not even late stuff anymore. He's still making movies.
I know.
But one of the things that I liked that he did more recently, and by more recently I mean like fucking 7 years ago, was Split.
I've heard that. Yeah, Split.
Anya Taylor. That was my introduction to Anya Taylor-Joy. That movie,
Okay.
and it's also probably the finest performance James McAvoy has ever given.
Oh yeah. Okay. I'll have to look into that. But there's some. But there's definitely a piece that she doesn't put on her resume anymore because she played Magic in the new Mutants film.
Yeah, that movie was not good.
No, it was
I
terrible.
watched it anyway because
So did I.
I was like, oh well, it's the last fucking X-Men film that they're doing under the Fox banner. I should probably check it out. And they've also been talking about this shit for like 8 years now, and it's finally coming out. I'm sure it's gonna suck, but I'm gonna watch it anyway. And you know what?
And
I
it
was
sucked.
right. It
It
sucked.
sucked.
It
Yeah.
was.
And Magic was probably the best part of
I
it.
don't. I mean, I like the bear.
Well, Maisie. Oh no
No,
no
no, the
no the
bear.
bear. Oh yes. Okay yes. Because you're kind of rooting for the bear
Yeah.
at some point.
The bear is a bad guy, by the way. He's
Yeah.
a giant psychic
Dream.
bear.
Right.
Oh, sweet.
He's a dream. The manifestation.
But he eats like villages and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, so I like that part of it. And as far as magic goes, that character, I think that she was a good actress for that character, but I think that the character was written
Oh yeah.
with a lot less complexity than she had in the comic books.
Correct.
And for those who don't know, I'm sure Ozzy knows. Ozzy knows his comics pretty good, but Magic is Colossus's sister,
Correct.
his younger sister, and they have an older brother named Mikhail, who is evil as fuck.
Nice.
And
He
Magic
becomes
is-
one of the four horsemen of apocalypse at one
Right.
point.
Sweet.
And Magic at one point is courted by Satan to rule hell.
Yeah, but she was also key to solving the problem of the legacy virus, which was a genetically tailored bioweapon designed to kill mutants on a genetic
Correct.
level. And her antibodies were what was it cost her life ultimately, but her antibodies were what allowed them to find a temporary solution to the legacy virus, like killing all mutants. Unfortunately, it did mutate, and then it started targeting everybody,
Right.
and it was a whole thing because it was a technovirus. It wasn't biological. You know. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff there that they could have done with that
Could have
character.
done.
They could have
But
done a
the-
lot more with Cannonball, who was an excellent character in the comic books. They could have done
Right.
a lot more
Well,
with fucking
and-
Wolfsbane, who was also a great character.
And why did Magic have Psylocke with her? I'm like, isn't that Kitty Pryde's pet?
Oh, Psylocke is
Oh, not Psylocke. Lockheed.
yeah, Lockheed. Yes, Lockheed is Kitty Pryde's. So there was no reason for Lockheed to be in the movie at all. Oh, because Kitty Pryde was played by Ellen Page in the
Elliot Page.
No, I said what I said.
Yeah,
And it's
I
still,
know.
and it's still, you know what? Watch the credits, buddy. It's still Ellen Page.
Oh, I know.
So,
It's great.
uh,
Which of all things to transition into, you transition into the one thing you hate the most, a white male. Right.
mhm.
Right.
uh,
A sense of irony there. Oh, okay.
yeah. Also, poor timing on her behalf, but you know, it's like this is a bad time to be a white male in Hollywood. Just saying.
Yep.
And I wouldn't say that it felt like an episode of CW show, not even a pilot episode, which tend to
No.
be a little better than the rest of the series.
Correct.
I think that it felt. I don't know. I don't know if television is where I would go with that, but it wasn't very good.
It was
Yeah.
just it was just a film that they knew it was the last one,
Mhm.
and they just kind of phoned it in.
Yeah. Well, plus when it came out, like all of the actors were like 7 years fucking older in
Right.
real life than they were at
Yeah.
in the movie because they've had all filmed their parts years before.
Right, because Maisie had filmed it at the height of Game of Thrones. So
Yeah, Umbrella Academy sucks. I'm just gonna say it. Right, that first season had moments where it was pretty good that I actually liked, and I've read the first collection of comic books that first season is based on, that arc. pretty much exactly what it is in the comic books. I don't have an issue with that, except for the fact that Vanya doesn't look like a little boy in the comics. Looks like a woman, but just saying. The rest of that series sucks ass, especially season 2, because I did watch season 3. Season 3 is marginally better than season 2 is, but season 2 is about time travel and the civil rights movement and,
Right.
white man bad.
Ugh.
Yep. Which is kind of what season 1, which is kind of what season 2 of The Boys was.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. Behemoth.
Ooh, okay. So now, I just rewatched at work now, not too long ago. I binged the HBO animated.
Yeah. That was
series.
unfinished, by the way. It's unfinished. There
I
was
know.
supposed to be 3
I
more
know.
seasons.
I know, but damn, it was good.
Yeah.
That was so good. I mean,
Beautifully animated. The voice acting is top fucking notch, and most of the
And
stories, even when they vary from where the comic books went, they're fucking well written.
Yes, and then the voice of a Cagliostro was great. That entire series was amazing.
Man, there is a reason that people, when they think of Spawn and they think of the voice of Spawn, it's not
Keith David.
it's not Michael J. White. It's fucking Keith David.
Yep.
And that's just the way it is. And I don't have anything against Michael J. White. I think he's really great in the roles that he is in. But that movie was shit, and that wasn't his fault. But it was It was a shit movie.
The problem with the Spawn film was they were doing CGI, and they went really heavy on CGI in a time when CGI was the experimental toy. Now there were some scenes there were some still scenes that just looked gorgeous. Mm-hmm. like when Spawn is standing on the edge of the building and his cape is unfurled, and then the very last scene where he's clutching the cross on top of that church and his cape is just out. Gorgeous scenes, but that's about it. The rest of it doesn't hold up at all.
Yeah.
And the story was very shaky.
Yeah. It just, I don't know. It was, and then replacing Chapel with Jessica Priest.
Right. Well,
Jessica Priest is a separate character in the comic books, but they gave that character Chapel's role, which was to betray Simmons.
Right, and she was supposed to. And if they were going to have a sequel, they were going to bring her back and basically make her a amalgamation of Chapel and Overkill.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Like, Overkill is a massive cyborg.
Massive.
Like, he's the size of a fucking 1-story building. He's not a small dude. He barely fits in the fucking alley to fight Spawn.
Right.
So I did like that they had a couple of Easter eggs in there for those of us who've actually read the comic books, like Sam and Twitch make an appearance at the end arresting Jason. And then in the ballroom scene, Angela can be seen wandering through the crowd, which was a very nice touch.
And she was great.
Oh yeah, they yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And if you notice Angela's earrings are Spawn logos.
Do you know why that is?
Why?
It's because she took them off of Spawns that she has killed.
Oh.
Because she is an angel.
Right.
She is an enemy of the Hellspawn. So
angel hunter. Yeah. She's a hunter.
The suit that he wears, the K7 Letha, I think is what it's called, is a sentient parasite. Right. The ribbons the ribbons that she wears, which is very little butt ribbons, they're also sentient and attached to her.
Gotcha.
They're mirrors of each other. They're on opposite sides, kind of thing. But yeah, when she's wearing those earrings, those are from Spawn, like massively powerful Spawns of the past that she has taken down herself.
Gotcha.
Huh.
Yeah. So it's those are trophies.
Cool.
I like it.
Yeah. Little known. I don't know how little known, but that character of Angela was actually co-created by Neil Gaiman.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
When he was
Yeah.
still.
Well, there was a period in the early parts of the comic books where Todd McFarlane shifted the writing off to guest authors every issue, and the first issue that Angela appears in was written by Neil Gaiman,
who is a great writer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does. He's written some really good stuff. But yeah, little known fact, he basically gets shared credit for creating that character.
Wow, right on. I mean, his show Sandman was a little over the top, but it had some good merits to it.
Yep. The comic books, I prefer the comic book. I didn't watch the show because it just, I don't know, it just didn't seem. It seemed a little CW-y actually. So, Iced Earth is a great fucking band, and I think I used to have that album. Yeah, when I was there, they had a lot of great art on there. Iced Earth and Korn both, I think, have commissioned Greg Capullo to do a lot of their cover art, and he was famous because he's the one who took over the art duties for Spawn after Todd McFarlane started delegating that out to other people.
Gotcha.
I know, very, very detailed artist, kind of thing. But yeah, good stuff. Yeah. So go watch the HBO Spawn, peoples. It's really good. Don't let your kids watch it.
No.
Most of the stuff we talked about today, do not let your kids watch. Do not let them be in the room.
Nope.
It's not good for them. I mean, I think there's a bit in like the second episode of Spawn where Chapel cuts off like a hooker's fingers or some shit. I mean, right after he rails her. So yeah, it's not for kids.
No.
Okay.
So, but it is good stuff. They actually, so when Mortal Kombat 11 came out like last year, right? And one of the DLC characters is
Spawn, right?
Spawn, and they got Keith David to come back and record a fuckload of new voice lines for that.
Nice.
And so it's his voice in there. They also got Peter Weller to do RoboCop's voice for it.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
They did. There were only a couple that they didn't get the original guy to do it.
Because I think what was it? For the Mortal Kombat, I think the one that has the Joker in it. I don't think they got Mark. They got Troy Baker to do the voice.
Yeah, they did that, and then also they did get Stallone to do a little bit for Rambo. But nice. The Terminator was not voiced by Schwarzenegger; it was voiced by an impressionator. But it was, I mean, it's passable, and it doesn't really matter because he's a cyborg, whatever. But yeah, they do try to get, and these are the same guys, by the way. NetherRealm is also who makes the Injustice games, which are also excellent fighting games for those of us who play games. But one of the fun things about that is that in Injustice 2, Scarecrow is voiced by Robert Englund.
Yeah.
And there are references to Freddy Krueger in his dialogue. Like at one point he says, "Now you're playing with power," which is a direct reference to Nightmare on Elm Street 4 when he murders somebody with a fucking Nintendo Power Glove.
Nice.
Right. And then I believe in that game, they got Tara Strong back to do Harley Quinn.
Yep. They got everybody that they could get. Kevin Conroy's doing Batman. They had I think Tim Daly was doing Superman.
I'm impressed.
Yeah, they got as many of the most recognized voice actors as possible. I think Mark Hamill was like one of the only ones that turned them down. Yeah.
So, but they got Troy, who's just about as next to me. He's as good.
Yeah, but to be fair, this was after Arkham Knight came out, and Hamill had announced that he was officially retiring that character anyway. Right. He came back and did something else, I think, later. But like generally speaking, yeah, he pretty much stopped playing the character because he'd been doing it for fucking, I don't know, 20, 30 years.
And then once Kevin passed, he officially said, "Yeah, I'm done."
Well, I don't see how. I'm kind of with Hamill on this. I don't see how he could play the character without Kevin.
Right. It's not the same.
So, yeah, I do believe that they had Sly record some dialogue for Rambo. Yeah, I think some of it was remastered uh, clips from movies, but some of it they did record some new dialogue for him.
Okay.
Speaking of which, did you happen to watch The Sentinel?
No.
It's
Huh?
not bad.
Huh?
It's not. I was, I'm as superheroed out as just about everybody else is at this point, and I just kind of got a wild hair up my ass. I saw, oh well, I saw this trailer for it. Stallone's in it, an aging Stallone, and it seems like a movie that I would have watched back in the fucking 90s, as opposed to something that came out today to preach to me. So I gave it a shot. It's not bad. It really isn't.
Yeah,
It's
I'm waiting to. I'm probably gonna go watch Fast 10 tomorrow just for content purposes. I'm not expecting much out of it.
If there ain't dinosaurs in it, I'm gonna be very disappointed.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It better be dinosaurs.
So like they could be riding like a GTO off a T-Rex's nose or something. That would be,
Done with
and-
nunchucks.
Oh, yes.
yeah, and it's got lasers shooting out of its eyes the whole time. I mean,
And
that would
nunchucks.
like this
Yeah.
is what I'm saying. Movies should be fun. I don't care if they're ridiculous. I mean, obviously you want them to be as cohesive as possible, but if the ridiculousness gets ramped up, as long as it's still entertaining, the ridiculousness doesn't really matter.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, really, how much more ridiculous? I mean, I've heard a couple reviews. Like was it Tyler had one saying, they've the previous 9 films they've kind of shot their wad as far as the ridiculousness of what they can do, of how many laws of physics can they break.
All of them,
That's-
apparently,
Yes, apparently.
That's
Yes.
the whole point.
at once. It's all about family and breaking the universe.
Family.
Nice.
So, hey, I remember that movie.
I'm trying not to. Thank you for bringing it up. It was
I was a
terrible.
kid when I saw it, and all I really remember is that bit where he goes into the final boss, battle, and he walks in, and that geisha chick is sitting there, and she pulls out the kunai, and he throws his fucking knife that's got the skull carved into the handle, and it lands between her eyes and kills her, and then he moves in the next room. That's all I remember from that whole fucking movie, by the way.
Yeah, it really does. It was a forgettable film. They must be punished. Thanks, Dolph. Thanks.
Yeah, I like Dolph Lundgren. That was not his best work.
No, I mean, I think my favorite film with him in it is Masters of the Universe.
Yeah.
Frank Langella, that guy sold that film
People
to
give that.
this day. He says that is his favorite role. that
It's
he's
one of
ever
his
played.
best performances.
I know.
He
was
is
amazing.
so good in that movie.
He is just chewing the scenery, and he has it dialed to 11 in every scene he is in, and it is glorious.
Everybody else gets fucking elevated when he's on set.
Absolutely.
It's a lot of people give that movie shit because there were problems, like the fact that they ran out of their budget halfway through, which is why the last half of it takes place in fucking Ohio.
Dark.
But
and it's dark. I mean,
yeah.
Okay, so that last scene between Skeletor and He-Man, they were tearing down the set because they were done shooting and they had to shoot around it.
Yeah, but it was still like I think they pulled it out. I do. I know they ran out of budget, and I know they had all kinds of problems on set and behind the scenes and all that shit. But I love that fucking movie.
Oh, I love it. Love it to death. It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's great. And like I said, Frank is just kills it in every single scene. He is just.
I mean, I grew up with Frank Langella playing Dracula, so
right.
Right.
I mean, that's even been used as a reference in other films. I mean, a terrible film was X-Men Apocalypse, but Oscar Isaac, when he had his big moment kind of thing, the director told him, okay, in the scene I want you to go full Skeletor, and Isaac knew exactly what he was talking about. So, because that monologue that Skeletor has at the end is just amazing.
Yeah. Power. Absolute unlimited
Unlimited
power.
And I am the power. Kneel before your master.
Oh man.
Fool, you are no longer my equal. I am more than man, more than life. I am a god.
Yeah, that was fantastic performance. I'm gonna have to go watch that fucking movie again tonight.
Right,
because
exactly.
That's a great movie. Even Dolph Lundgren is like, I do not want innocent people to die. I bought it. I was like, it was terrible delivery, but I bought it.
Was it? And God, dude. I mean, the film on its face is just so. I mean, the film is so god awful. It's awesome. Yeah. I mean, it is up there with the Sam Harris Flash Gordon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Zilla just saying you sound a little bit like Shrek. You mean like from the movie, the first movie? It's like these freaks, these turtles.
Nice, that was good.
Yeah,
that's good.
Now I will finish what I began with your ear.
Wow. All right.
I do some impressions, not well, but
oh, that was good. I like that one.
Great fucking movie. All right, guys. I think we're probably going to call it. We're coming up on 3 hours here. It's 2:45 or whatever. As I know, some of you in chat have already seen Amira is going live tonight. So I got to get ready for that, and I got to eat at some point in between here and there. Yeah, but I'd like to thank Kat for absolutely being the co-hostess with the mostest. And Joker Voice for coming on. Both of their links are in the description of the video. Just click on it below, and you can find it there if you have not gone to subscribe to them. JB, what you got coming up?
Nothing until the Monday for last week's news now. And then Wednesday, I got. It's been a bad week for a certain president of Lucasfilm, and we're just going to recap that. As she's been kicked in the teeth, not once, not twice, but 3 times. And it's just,
It's
glorious. It's glorious.
Well. Good deal.
Then Disney is not having a good week, and I mean,
but and then you can catch me the Monday. Lee can talk going back to the world of Westeros, talking Game of Thrones. We had to skip. Ryan was having issues last week, so we're doing episode 8 and 9 of season 3, and then Tuesday I think I should be on with Tyler the Redbeard. We're doing a bracket of all of our the last 2 shows we did was anime and Adult Swim and animated series, which ones were the best, and we have our S and A tiers, and we're going to see which one comes down to basically go against Batman, the animated series.
Yeah. So, good deal. Looking forward to that. Kat, what do you have coming up?
Tomorrow is Sunday Warframe. I'll be living Warframe tomorrow. Mugsy Kids has some cool stuff to show off, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. Thursday, I don't know if we'll be doing Merry Madness or not, but I'm trying to make more videos. Friday, hopefully Royal Rumble with Ryan, and then back again. And yeah.
Good deal. All right. So I will be. We were gonna do episode 4 of our Picard review tomorrow, but as it turns out, Ryan is unavailable this weekend, and Alf went on vacation this morning to somewhere sunny with beaches. So
nice.
We're gonna postpone that for a week. So we'll be back not tomorrow, but the following Sunday with that. And then Friday night we'll have another episode of Abyssal Musings, and then next Saturday will be the 50th episode of screaming into the void, and I'm going to be throwing out a lot of links for that one.
Nice.
You know, I don't think it's quite right that Drinker and Mahler got to 50 like a fucking week before I did, but whatever. You know, you know, I'm pretty sure I started before they did, but fuck them. I'm kidding. I love those guys, but it's still a little salty about this, and all that. And yeah, so thank you everybody for being here. Appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out. This has been a fun discussion. Pretty chill stream today.
It's fun.
And that said, remember, it could always be worse, YouTube. It could be raining flaming cobras. Night,
Toodles.
everybody.